Hello, hello. Afternoon, afternoon. Is everyone ready to rock and roll? Is everyone ready for the Italian Grand Prix? Because I am, guys. If you're not, well, you've got an hour to get ready for it. That is for sure. Not long to go. What an Italian Grand Prix we have in store for us. At least I hope so. Anyway, I'm a positive guy. I'm a positive guy, and that is what I'm hoping for today. So, yeah, welcome everyone. Bear with me just a second. Just sorting something out here. Right, that's fine. What was I looking for? This. There we go. Welcome, everyone. Good to see the regulars. Ant, Loris, Willie, Daisy, Alan. Good to see you all. Welcome, everyone. Sorry if your name didn't get mentioned there. This community is massively growing, so big thank you. I'm just trying to get my TV coverage up. That's what I'm just trying to do here. Little bit of a rush to get ready because, bless, little one has been a bit poorly. She's had 1 week. 1 week. Oh, why is this doing this? Hang on. It's playing on my phone. I don't want it on my phone. Right. Connect to this device, please. This computer. Play. There we go. There we go. Yeah, she's had 1 week. 1 week at nursery / childminder. And typical. She's got suspected chickenpox. So, yeah, bless her. So she's a bit under the weather at the moment. Who do you think is going to win, Splash? Well, get your votes in. Get your votes in. We do have a poll. At the moment, it is overwhelmingly Max Verstappen, 43% of the votes. Starting on pole position. A great pole position by him yesterday. Lando Norris is second favourite, 20%. Oscar Piastri, 19%. Of course, he has a lot more to lose today by leading that championship by 34 points. So he can take it a little bit more cautious, but we know that Charles is going to be chomping at the bit to want to get ahead of Oscar Piastri and finish on arguably the best podium of the season in front of the Tifosi. And, well, he has his teammate ahead of him. So he doesn't want to lose too many points. Ideally, he'd like to lose none at all. So we'll see. And we know he is aggressive as well, Oscar Piastri. Which team is fast in the straights? Red Bull, Ferrari. They both are. They're both, I'd say, equally as quick as each other down the straights. However, the Red Bull with the brand new power unit in Max's hands just seems to be overall better car this weekend than the Ferrari. So, everyone crash an album wins. Needs a lot of people. Needs a lot of people to crash here. Can't wait for the emergency alert. Oh, what time is that on? Yeah, what time is that? So, yeah, it's not great, Peter. Suspected. We're not 100% sure yet, but yeah, we kind of have got the telltale signs, so bless her. 3 p.m. alert. Oh, God. Well, yeah. I've got my headphone in my ear, so hopefully my Bluetooth headphone's connected to my phone for the TV coverage, so hopefully you guys don't get anything come through, but yeah, it's a bit annoying. It's good for them to get chickenpox when they are younger. I got it when you was 14, horrible. Yeah, they do say that. It's the younger, the better. I remember I got it when I was an infant as well, so, but I still remember it being not very nice. But yeah. I can't believe the season is almost over. But what do you mean almost over? We still have, including this one, 9 races remaining. We have 8 race weekends remaining after this, with 2 sprint races included within that. There's still a lot of racing to happen in this 2025 season. And, well, that's why I like, don't rule out Lando Norris. Don't rule him out. That championship is not over by any means. And this is a sort of race today where Lando Norris needs to capitalise. He needs to ensure that he puts a couple of cars between himself and his teammate, if possible. Now, Max is going to be tricky to overtake. I think if Max leads from turn 1, or particularly at the end of the first lap, I think he's going to be very tricky to overtake, and it's going to have to be Maybe. I think what they may do, McLaren, is they'll probably try the overcut. I think that's what they'll do. They'll try and utilise the clean air. We know the McLaren is quick in clean air, and they'll try the overcut on Max Verstappen because that's where they're going to make up their time. If they're going to struggle to overtake, as we saw in the speed traps, they were one of the slowest cars yesterday, as they have been all season. Their ability comes from in the cornering. However, if you look at the lap, the comparison lap yesterday, Lando Norris wasn't that far behind. He wasn't at any point in the lap ahead of Max Verstappen when you look at the comparisons, but it was close considering Max does have less downforce on the car. However, what happens is that when you add considerably more fuel to the car, 100 kilograms of fuel nearly that these cars will be running, that lower downforce is going to help you considerably more than when you have got more downforce on the car. In your top speed anyway, not necessarily the cornering. But trying to overtake in the corners at Monza is tricky, like in the actual corners itself. So through the chicane, it's always under braking, so you need to be able to pull alongside. Trying to overtake into turn 6 and turn 7, and even with the DRS open down into turn 8, Ascari chicane is going to be tough for the McLaren, and I don't see them gaining a lot, really, down the start-finish straight, even with the slipstream. So, am I going to stream the 2026 Ergy? Of course I am. I love these watch-along streams. It's what I look forward to every race weekend. When F1 isn't on, I do feel a little bit lost now these days. I do. I realise how much of my life revolves around F1, in a good way. I absolutely enjoy it because I love doing these streams. I love providing content to you all. And yeah, we'll be bigger and better next season. We're trying to push on. We hit 55,000 subs yesterday. So big thank you, everyone who is new to the channel and has been here for a very long time as well. Always appreciate everyone who has been supporting this channel, even if you've been a member. If you've been a member, whether you've been a subscriber or just a follower or a viewer for the first time I started doing these, and whether you just found me yesterday. Big thank you. We live and breathe F1. We truly do, Jarvis. We truly do. And I think that's the thing, is that my passion for the sport comes across well, and that's why we're all here. So, watching the Ghost car, Max looks like he constantly has better exits. Yeah, that's true, Fratterson. Yeah, I mean, he has generally just more top speed as well. In particular, when you look at the Ghost lap, you can see that he has more speed out of turn 2. It's partly down to traction, but it's more so due to the lower downforce that he has. So through the actual corner itself, Lando does gain a bit, as you would expect, as he's not running as low downforce as what the Red Bull is in Max Verstappen's car. But you see, as they get out of the corner and then they're getting up to speed, the acceleration point, you can see where that drag starts to hamper the McLaren more, and that's where Max starts to gain. But what Max did really well yesterday in particular is that you would expect him to lose more. I would expect him to lose more in the corners. I expected to look at that Ghost lap yesterday and at least see Lando be ahead of Max at some point in the lap, particularly through those corners, particularly the second sector, particularly through the Ascari chicane, and he wasn't. So it's a credit to how Max is able to control a low downforce setup. And the thing is that McLaren were banking on locking out the front row and getting clean air, because we know that car's quick in clean air. If Lando can get ahead, or Oscar, if either of those two McLarens gets ahead of Max Verstappen down into turn 1, or at the end of the first lap, they could potentially run away with the race, because they've got clean air. They'll be able to pull away, push the dirty air into Max's face, and break the toe in the middle and last sector. But we know that the Red Bull in the DRS would be quick, because that slipstream would be more effective with more downforce that the McLaren's running, and also Max with a quicker car in top speed in the straight line. So the Merc engines were under investigation, were they? That's news to me. Let me have a check. Hey, one, good to see you. I'm hoping Yuki can secure that 6th place. We know he can do it. Yeah, it's a good opportunity for him today, Yuki Tsunoda. I'm waiting to see. Was there anything? I haven't seen anything, which is interesting. But let's change. We'll wait for a minute. We'll wait for a minute until we change scene. The live data is available for us. Drivers aren't making their way round to their grid slots just yet. As always, we'll have a look at those reconnaissance laps, those recon laps, because sometimes shady stuff happens. McLarens have the best chance if they manage to keep up the pace. Yeah, it's all about clean air for them, which is why I think they'll be able to stay with Max quite comfortably. But they won't be able to overtake, and it'll be a waiting game. And it'll be a game of, okay, we're waiting for Max to pit, and then Max pits first, which he probably will do, because lower downforce setup, he's probably going to be using more tyre in the corner because he'll be sliding slightly more. We know that Red Bull isn't as strong in the corners and on its tyres as the McLaren is. So they'll just be waiting, and then they'll utilise how many laps? I don't know. They'll utilise a good few laps in clean air to try. They'll save their tyres and they'll try and pull out a gap to overcut Max. So that'll be interesting to see if they can achieve that. That's my assumption. We'll have a look at the strategy options, of course, shortly. If you're new to the channel, we will have a look at those strategy options, the tyre allocations, the weather, the safety car percentage, the pit stop loss time here, and just have a look at all of the potential scenarios that we could see today here at Monza. Hey, Nero, good to see you pulling for the Ferrari. Hope the shirt helps. Yes, well, I would say for the most part it has worked here this weekend. They weren't going to get pole position, let's be honest, were they? They weren't going to get pole position. It was more hopium than anything. But there's potential of stuff happening up ahead. That's the thing. Like, if Max is definitely going to have good pace, but there's a potential that Max holds up the McLarens. The McLarens are the quicker car, and he holds them up, and Charles stays there. I mean, hopefully we get a good battle today. And especially with, of course, Norris and Piastri wanting to having the bigger picture at mind, the Drivers' Championship, it's going to be intriguing how they approach this as well. First corner shenanigans today, Michaela. Yeah, I think so. What are the chances of Hamilton to win it? Very low. Very low, starting from P10. Of course, that 5-place grid penalty that he had. So, yeah, starting down in P10. I think he's got the car underneath him to get ahead of Yuki and Alonso. However, Bortoletto is going to be tricky to overtake today. Let's have a look at the order, shall we? So we've got the grid here. Drivers aren't on their sighting laps just yet. So I will stop that. Just so you are aware, guys, we do have these detection zones. Those pink dots, I've altered the dots from Friday. And we do have, I think it's important here because of how, and at every track really, the DRS detection zone, we know that drivers have to be within 1 second, within a certain range, at a certain point on track. But it's always pretty tricky to ascertain where those detection points are. I know roughly throughout my time of watching F1 where they are, but it's always difficult to kind of relay that to you all. This is self-explanatory. The pink dots are the DRS detection lines, and then the DRS is immediately after them. So that is the point, when you're looking at the intervals, that is the point of where the drivers that you're keeping an eye out on need to be within 1 second of the car ahead of them to get the DRS activated. Hope that makes sense. We've seen shockers at Italy before, like Gasly, who won here. Yeah, definitely, Stephen. Look, don't rule out safety cars. Don't rule out red flags. We have seen them here at Monza before. Monza's a bit tricky because we've seen some real boring races here. Some real dire affairs. And then we've also seen some real chaotic races. I mean, I haven't seen all of the F2 race earlier, but I've seen the highlights. I've seen some of the highlights, some clips. That was chaotic. We saw how chaotic Zandvoort was. It could be just a week later here at Monza that we also see plenty of chaos. And, well, these cars are massive, aren't they? So, yeah, anyone tries to go for an overtake. We've seen so many front wings be lost here and front wing end flaps lost. So, yeah, I expect the same. I do expect that we will get a safety car at some point in this race. I don't think it's going to be green flag all the way to the end. Morning, Ian. Good to see you. This entire weekend has been complete chaos for F2 and F3. I know. But it's just, Arvid Lindblad just seemed to have, I don't know, he just seemed to switch his brain off, didn't he, this morning in F2? Ridiculous. Can Max make it through turn 1 comfortably, or is there a chance of a move by McLaren? Yes, there's 100% a chance for McLaren down into turn 1. There's always a chance. It's quite a significant run. Not the longest on the calendar, but it is a sizable run from the start grid down into turn 1. We have seen, not necessarily in this modern era of F1, but we have seen, famously, Fernando Alonso, I think he started 4th, didn't he? Launch himself, or at least third place, launch himself all the way into turn 1. There's enough room here into the entry of turn 1 at least to go 3 wide. Now, you don't want to be 3 wide when you actually go for the chicane, but the run down to turn 1, it is a sizable, it's one of the few tracks still where you can fit multiple F1 cars alongside each other. So there is a possibility that we get the 2 McLarens and Ollie Behrman starting 11th. The 2 McLarens and Max Verstappen going side by side down into turn 1, and it'll be who has the biggest cojones, I guess. But yeah, there's a possibility of someone behind the front 2. Behind the front 2, actually leading into the first corner. And also a stat here is that the last time someone won from pole position here at Monza was 2019. So 4 years in a row now, we have not had pole position win, I believe. Do you know what? I need to sense check myself. Is that a correct stat? Because I feel like Max has won this race from pole. I could be wrong there. Let me have a check. That's wrong, isn't it? I'm now second guessing myself. Let me just double check. 2024 definitely, because it was Piastri who was second, and Charles. Well, Charles won the race, didn't he? 2023, did Max qualify? Max didn't win from pole, did he not? Qualifying, Carlos Sainz was on pole. Okay, so 2023, yep. 2022, it was. I know 2021 he definitely didn't win. 2022, qualifying was Charles Leclerc on pole. So yeah, Max started twice in 22 and 23. He started second, and he did eventually win those races. So yeah, that's correct. 2020 in Italy, that was Pierre Gasly won it. Yeah, Pierre Gasly won that race, and he definitely didn't start on pole in 2020. So yeah, 2019 was the last time, and that was Charles Leclerc won from pole position. So yeah, Monza can provide some good races. Yeah, Charles Leclerc won the race from pole. So interesting. That's mad. I didn't realise that. I didn't realise Max wasn't on pole in 22 or 23. Nicolas, a big and massive hurrah for bringing the best F1 knowledge and insight to an ignorant Dane who didn't count F1 for much until a visit to my live watchalongs. Thank you. Much appreciated, Nicolas. I'm glad you've been able to enjoy F1 again through this medium. So yeah, big thank you. And I think you are in many are in the same position as well. I mean, these watchalongs have enhanced my viewing experience of F1 as well, because I used to just watch it on the sofa, watch the TV coverage, and I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, and I enjoyed watching it with my missus, but I missed out on a lot. I missed out on chatting about what happened and reacting to things that happened, and I feel like as much as my missus has got more into F1, sometimes my reactions as to why I was getting irate or excited about things could be lost, which is understandable. But doing these watch-alongs, I get that with you guys. Even if you are faceless and you're just a name behind, and you're just a number on the screen, I get that, and I get that passion come across, and it comes across, and you guys, we have that great back and forth. So yeah, I enjoy it so much. Are there cars that will start from the pit lane? I don't think so. No. Oh, yes, there will be. Pierre Gasly and Isaac Hadjar has a brand new power unit in his car. I did just hear that. So Isaac Hadjar, he will be starting from the back of the grid because he has like a 20-place grid penalty because he's taken a new engine. So Hadjar could make some ground today. We will see. But Yeah, Gasly looks like he is starting from the pit lane. So it looks like drivers are making their way to the end of the pit lane there. You can see their icons. So we are moments away from them starting their recon laps. There you go. It's green light at the moment. Pit exit is open. And there they go, making their way out onto the track. So we'll see. We'll hope that there's no shenanigans. And if there is a penalty that needs to be given, hopefully it's given before the race actually gets underway and isn't carried over to Azerbaijan in a few weeks' time. This is like watching the race in a digital garage F1K for the best info and presenter. Thanks, Max. Yeah, and also, that's something else that I also wanted to say as well, is that I watch the races now, and I've said this multiple times, I watch the races and I get more from the race by watching it through the data and the track map than I do actual TV coverage. You realise how much you actually miss and how much they don't show on the TV coverage. They are limited, of course, to an extent of what they can show, but there's so much more data that's available. You get a whole picture of the race unfolding in front of you, and if you're a big F1 fan, I think this is the way forward. Even if you're watching it on the TV, I do have the TV next to me as more of a replay tool for you guys to relay back exactly what has happened, but yeah, this is how I watch it and experience F1 races now. So you only face us because you broke the camera, Dan. Or did it break because you looked in it? Oh, no. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I went there. I'm sorry. Do I know how many engines the teams have used for this season so far, Carl? I think everyone now has used 3 engines. So anyone who takes a new engine now, between here and the end of the season, is over their allocation. We have the 2 Haas's, we have Gasly, I think we have the 2 Haas's, we have the 2 Alpines, and we have Max Verstappen all taking their last engine at this race, which is normally a race that you would do it. You either see it at Spa or at Monza because you need that extra horsepower here. It's so advantageous for you. And yeah, we saw that from Max yesterday as well. And that's why it's going to be a tough cookie to beat here today. But yeah, anyone now, as you saw, Isaac Hadjar, he's over his allowance, so he takes a grid place penalty. That's the same as Norris. That was the concern with Norris as well, is not only did he lose, of course, all of those points with that retirement in Zandvoort, but there was concerns that he would have to take a brand new engine, which would take him over his allocation, as he has already used 3 engines, and he would have to take a grid place penalty. But that wasn't the case. Seems like that there was no damage to the engine. It was just an oil leak and the engine shut down. That's what it did. It went into shutdown mode to save the engine and the components before any damage could occur. So, yeah. Gaming Pro, I have a very important comment. What is a tow? What is a slipstream? What's the difference? In effect, they are the same thing. However, what we say by the tow, normally we mean the car ahead is towing the car behind along with them, as if they've got like a tow rope and they're dragging the car along with them, giving them speed. But the reason why they get that tow is because of the slipstream. The slipstream is basically the pocket of air that doesn't exist behind a race car, even in your road car, because a car ahead will punch a hole in the air. It has resistance from the air in front of itself. But all of that air has to go somewhere. It's displaced around the car. And what happens, and you can't see it with the naked eye, but with like fancy models and computer models and stuff like that, and wind tunnels in particular, where they are able to apply certain amounts of pressure of winds. There are some images on Google, and there's some video footage on YouTube where you can see a wind tunnel model in it and see this pocket of air. You can see the slipstream effect, basically. And what happens is that the car behind, because of that, has no air resistance in front of itself. It still has some, of course, but considerably less, because the car in front is doing all of the work. And that allows them to get extra top speed because they have less resistance in front of them. So, yeah, that's basically it. So, you feel like someone's going to DNF first lap? Ooh, I think this is going to be another chaotic race, to be honest with you. I'm kind of hoping it is. So, but there's some great videos online. There are on YouTube. Just type in F1 winds tunnel as an example, or F1 slipstream, there'll be some great informative videos on there that will have simulations and so forth so that you can visually see it. But from the naked eye, you can't see it. It's the same with cycling as well. You'll see them tuck in behind each other. Even the same with running as well. Marathon running and so forth. There's an advantage to being behind someone, directly behind someone, because they're taking more of the wind resistance and you're not having as much resistance. And sometimes even in those sports, while it's maybe not as effective as what it is in motorsport, it still has an advantage, which can be all the difference between you winning or not. So can Max convert P1 into the race winners? McLarens would be dogfighting each other. Yes, I think he can. 100% he can. Yeah, it's still going to be an interesting one. I don't think Max will drive off into the distance. The thing is, we know the McLarens are still good. They're still a very good car. Max still only out-qualified Norris by less than a tenth of a second. And Norris is running more downforce than that of Verstappen. It's an impressive lap by Max. But what we've got here is that we've got Norris and Piastri on more downforce dependent setups. Their top speeds indicated that when we looked at the speed traps yesterday. And that means that their advantage is in the corners. Now, it's going to be tricky to overtake in the corners here at Monza because the overtaking happens down the straights and down into the braking zones of turn 1 and 2. And yes, you can maybe get a decent run down into turn 4. Max still needs to control this race and ensure that he looks after his tyres, but that's the key thing. How can Max look after his tyres? Will that Red Bull be able to, on this low downforce setup, look after those rears much more than or as good as what the McLarens can do? I just think the McLarens will be having a waiting game. They're not going to be able to overtake Max because of the dirty air and because they don't have the top speed on Max Verstappen, which is essential here at Monza. And I think even with the slipstream and DRS, they're just not going to be able to get close until his tyres start falling off. Max will pit, and then they'll try and do the overcut and utilise the clean air where we know the McLaren is very strong. Set some fast laps and overcut him. And it could be very close heading out of the pit lane. That's what I think McLaren will try and... That's what their strategy will be. Plan A will be to try and get ahead of him down into turn 1 and control the race from there. But if that doesn't happen, which it most probably won't because Max is very good at race starts, and how often have we seen Lando have a poor race start? Oscar Piastri's, yes, does have much better race starts than Norris, but he's starting behind Verstappen by 2 places, so it's going to be a tall order for him to get alongside Max down into turn 1. Why so many broken wing mirrors this week? Lewis replaced both his yesterday, and think both McLarens reported broken mirrors, those large gravel pebbles. Yeah, probably the gravel, and also maybe the vibrations as well. How many times did you hear them say, "Oh, check the floor, check the floor"? I think that's been the most common phrase this weekend, check the floor. And that's also something that could... Oh, no. Practice start infringement for Fernando Alonso noted, failing to follow race director's instructions. What happened there with Fernando Alonso? You guys can't see it right this second as I've got it here, but there's a pit lane infringement for Fernando Alonso. Practice start. We'll see. We've seen those given. We've seen penalties for that given in the past at other circuits where they've done practice starts where they shouldn't have done. But yeah, the gravel could have called... so what could play a factor here today is the gravel and those drivers. We could see some floor damage here today, and it could be massively impactful to the race. If McLaren drift wide, if Max drifts wide, any car, it's going to massively hamper their performance. As we know, not all of the performance, but a very large majority of the performance comes from the underside, the floor of the car. So if you damage that, which you very much could do, you are going to lose a considerable amount of speed here. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that for sure. So if there's any off tracks, if there's any drivers that go off, particularly through turn 6 and turn 7, that's where we've seen the gravel thrown up. We have seen drivers mess up Ascari as well, turn 8 and 9 and a 10. So yeah, if we see any gravel thrown up, then that could be quite a bit of damage to whoever causes that. Chances they both kick Sauber scoring points today. I think there's a good possibility, you know. Yeah, I really do think there is. The stake F1 is so quick. Bortoletto is going to be super quick here this weekend and very difficult to overtake. For Alonso and Tsunoda and Hamilton, trying to dispatch him sooner rather than later in the race is, especially Alonso and Tsunoda, they're going to be trying everything they can to get past Bortoleto at the start of this race, because they are the quickest in the speed traps. They are a rocket ship in a straight line, the Stake F1 cars, and they're going to be tricky to overtake. There could very well be a very quick DRS train behind Bortoleto in the early stages of this race, with it only being activated after a single lap. But anyway, that is it. No error, no issues there really, other than Fernando Alonso and also, oh dear, Lance Stroll as well. Both Aston Martin drivers are being investigated. Is that a correction? Is it a correction or was it... No, both Aston Martin drivers, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll, failing to follow race director's instructions, practice start infringement. So that most likely means they did a practice start where they shouldn't have done it. Normally, before the session starts, we see... so normally before the session starts in the driver's briefing, that one of the notes will be, you can do a practice start here, and you can't do it here. And they've most likely done it where they shouldn't have done. So we'll see. But anyway, that is it for the sighting laps. No issues there, other than those two pit starts infringements that I just mentioned, or those practice starts. Let's have a look at the strategy options for today. Right. Let's move everything out of the way. And we should be ready to rock and roll. Let's go. Here we go. So I got that the wrong way round. Surprise, surprise. It's a one-stopper. You can go have your nap now, guys. You can go have your afternoon nap now. There we go. Good to see you as well. Welcome back, buddy. But yes, it is always a one-stop here, guys. It is always a one-stop if we don't see safety cars or red flags. And the reason for that, we'll get onto, but it's basically because of the pit lane stop time. It is just too long. Actually, do you know what? We'll hop onto that now, to be fair. This is the reason why. You lose 24 seconds at best, really, in the pit lane. That is a considerable amount of time to lose on a track that doesn't have a particularly long lap time. Only a 1 minute 20 in the 1 minute 20s. That is a lot of time to lose. So that is why they only really do a one stop here under green flag conditions. If there are safety cars and red flags and VSCs, then yes, there can be an extra set of tyres put on, because you take 10 seconds off that pit stop time. So we can see that, but it is more often than not a one stop. Medium to hard is probably what we're going to see. I'd be surprised. We might see some drivers start on the hard compound tyre. They'll do the overcut. They'll go long like we saw at Zandvoort, hope for a safety car. I think we'll see a few drivers try that strategy, potentially the Williams as an example. Haas benefited massively from that last time around. Ollie Bearman started from the pit lane and finished 6th, and Ocon finished P10. So, yeah, that's what you can get. I think we could potentially see that. If F3 and F2 are anything to go by, then we're going to see plenty of carnage here today. And the soft tyre, I don't think the soft tyre is going to be used at all unless we have a safety car where it's beneficial to go onto the soft tyre at the end when you have that extra grip. But yeah, the soft tyre isn't going to last that long, really. I mean, temperatures are more of the issue than degradation here at Monza. You do see quite a bit of blistering, and that's because it's more of a temperature issue than it is an actual degradation issue. But you can work your way through that blistering where the excess rubber starts to fall off the tyre, and then that tread starts to fall off the tyre, and then the grip comes back to you. So yeah, that's more so what it's about, looking after the rears and yeah, just trying to control this race. Increase the pit lane speed limit then, FIA. It has been, I'm not sure if it has been, it's 80 kilometres an hour here, but it was something that Lewis Hamilton did state. Lewis Hamilton actually said, he didn't say about the speed, he said the pit lane is unnecessarily long here at Monza. It doesn't need to be as long as it is. So he's arguably asking for change to the pit lane length itself. So that's why. Because the thing is as well here is that the reason why that pit lane stop is as big as it is because of the distance it is, the length it is, but also the speed that the drivers are travelling at. Out of the exit of the last corner, they're travelling at over 330 kilometres an hour as they head down into turn 1. While you're just like you're trundling down the pit lane at 80 kilometres an hour. Like, that's a big differential there around a short track as well. So that's why it's always the one stop. The overcut and the undercut. We have seen the undercut here be powerful because they have been able to manage the tyres. We'll keep an eye out on those who will pit early. We could see some big DRS trains very early on, as we have seen so often here at Monza. So we have seen in times gone by, drivers pit early, do a very early undercut and try and take the hard compound tyre a very long distance because they can just hold on to track position. With the C3, it is doable. We have seen it, so I expect a few drivers to do that and utilise the clean air that is in front of them. But we may also see the overcut as well work here. As I mentioned, the McLarens in particular, they might go long and then try and utilise that extra tyre life that they're probably going to try and save on Max if they're ahead of them. Same thing with Charles. It's going to be interesting strategy-wise, but it is generally a one-stop here, so... Charles Leclerc last year, exactly, pit mediums early and go long on the hards. Yep, and the thing is as well is that, I mean, McLaren arguably, Piastri last year arguably did use too much of his tyre early on because he was trying to cover off Lando. And then McLaren told him to pit when they should have just kept him out up front. They saw Charles gaining, but he wasn't gaining significantly, really. And I think it still would have been a tall order for him to overtake. As we know, catching is one thing, overtaking is another, and that's what we're going to see here today. But hopefully we do see with some different downforce configurations, and hopefully we'll have a look at the wind direction. Hopefully, I mean, it seems to be it's a tailwind at the moment. We want a headwind. We want a northerly wind, and at the moment it's a southerly wind, which means it's a tailwind down into turn 1, which could provide, to be fair, that may be why F2 and stuff has been so chaotic, is that drivers have been getting caught out by the tailwind, the extra speed that they're getting, and missing up their braking zones, getting lockups down into turn 1. So it's not ideal. Ideally, I would like to see a headwind into turn 1, but we're not going to get that today. So maybe the tailwind will cause a bit more carnage. And here are the tyre allocations for today, guys, as you can see there. Oscar Piastri, pretty much everyone other than Max Verstappen has two brand new sets of tyres available to him on the hards. That's interesting for Max. He has two brand new hards available, whereas Piastri, Norris, Leclerc, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Russell, Antonelli all have one set available to them. And then they've all got one brand new set of mediums. And then the softs, we know. So yeah, strategy-wise, not really too much to play around with here. We may see someone try and do the overcut, try and do the hard compound tyre. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe they try Lewis Hamilton on the hard. I don't think that's the right strategy for Lewis, to be honest with you. I think he should try and go on the aggressive in P10. And that's also what the Tifosi want to see as well. But some of those further down the grid, maybe Behrman, Albon, Sainz, they might start on the hard compound tyre and try that overcut and go long in this race. Hope for a safety car. And then, yeah, do that strategy instead. We'll see. We will see. What tyres they start on will be a good indicator of what the teams are planning on doing. When we look at degradation on those tyres, you can see they're only 0.5, so half a tenth per lap. Mediums is even less, and the hard is 0.02, 200ths per second per lap. So yeah, not a lot of degradation here. It's more about the thermal degradation. It's more about managing those temps, particularly in the rears because of the low traction corners. Low speed corners, sorry, and that's where as I mentioned, we see that blistering. So yeah, not a lot of degradation here, but you still need to be careful of ensuring that you don't spin up your tyres out of the exit of some of these corners. Weather reports, it's dry. No opportunity for wet weather conditions here today, so do not expect any shenanigans in that regard. Safety car we have had in the last 7 years, we have had 50% of the time a safety car and 38% of the time a VSC. And we've had 13% of the time a red flag, which I think is once. I think we've had a red flag once in the last 7 years there. I think that's if my maths is correct, roughly. So yeah, if if carnage is going to happen, it's not going to come in the form of intermittent weather or changeable weather conditions. It's going to come through just the race itself and just the drivers, maybe like they did at Zandvoort, going a bit doolally, which can always happen. What's the rules and tyres again, Kicker? They have to lose 2 compounds during the race. Yes, they have to use 2 different compounds in the race. So that's why there's always a mandatory at least 1 pit stop. So to change onto a different set of tyres. They can adhere to that 2 tyre compound rule if there is a red flag. So they don't have to make a pit stop if there is a red flag, because you are able to change tyres and achieve that rule and that requirement under red flag conditions. So yeah, that's why there's generally, people say there's a mandatory pit stop, but the only time you don't have to make a pit stop is if there's a red flag. Madvit's SC is more likely than the VSC. I know. Well, that's obviously how big the crashes have been here before. Normally, if something happens at Monza, someone goes off. It's a big crash because of the high speeds here. Someone goes off into the barrier. Someone's stuck in the gravel. They're in an unsafe position where the VSC isn't necessarily required. So, yeah. But then we have a look at the race simulation, and this is where it's quite interesting. McLaren, a 10th quicker than Red Bull, but that won't be sufficient when it comes to being in the dirty air of Red Bull, and with that straight line speed that Red Bull has, that advantage in Max Verstappen over the 2 McLarens. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting, that battle today. Ferrari, we know they're quicker than the Mercedes, but they haven't been close enough to the Red Bull and McLaren. But we've seen the Ferrari not necessarily be the quickest car here in the past and still win races. So Charles Leclerc, at the bare minimum, he'll be looking to finish on the podium in front of the Tifosi. And yeah, continue what is a decent record for him here at Monza. It's just a one-stopper, JT. Yeah, it's a one-stopper. If we go back here, you can see Monza always is under green flag conditions because of how long the pit stop loss time is here, 24 seconds. So that's the gap really that you're looking at, guys, today, is that 24-second range. And of course, if there is a cheap pit stop under a safety car or VSC, you can gain 10 seconds on those who have pitted under green flag conditions. So 15 seconds and 24 seconds are the times that you need in your head. Those are the gaps that the teams will be looking at to pit out into free air. We will see some early pit stops, no doubt, for those to utilise that clean air, because we'll probably get DRS trains quite early on, especially with those 2 Stake F1 cars. We could see, and I'll get the grid back up in a second. We have Bortoletto starting 7th, and we have Nico Hülkenberg starting 12th. Let's just say they both make it through to that one with their positions intact. So they stay 7th and 12th. We could see 2 DRS trains forming. We could see Bortoletto holding up Alonso, Tsunoda, Hamilton and Behrman behind him. And then we could see Hülkenberg holding everyone else up behind him, because they are so quick in a straight line. So why is Sauber's racing so slow when they were topping the timing charts yesterday? Because topping the speed charts isn't the be-all and end-all. There is still 2 other sectors for them to contend with. The first sector, they're very quick, but in the corners, they're very slow. However, they may have such an advantage in that Sector 1 that it negates the disadvantage that they have in Sector 2 and Sector 3. That's the thing. Overtaking in Sector 2 and Sector 3 here at Monza is tricky unless really the driver ahead makes a mistake. It's all about Sector 1, and that's where they've set their car up to be difficult to overtake. So, yeah, it's a very unique circuit, Monza, that you don't necessarily have to be the quickest car or set the car up to be as quick in every single sector as possible. It's okay to sacrifice 3/4 of the track. Like a third of the track, 2/3 of the track in performance, to ensure if you can qualify well enough, you can hold everyone else behind. So yeah, that's why Max is going to be interested. If Max is going to be Max will be tricky to overtake today because of that reason, because he's quick everywhere, but in particular he has that top speed advantage over the Red Bull, over the McLarens, even with the DRS. So it's going to be interesting to see. Oh God, I hear mostly thermal degradation at the rear, and I'm immediately thinking that the McLarens would probably be able to do the whole race on mediums, if only they didn't have to pit. Probably, and I think it's going to be a waiting game for them. If they can't beat Max down into turn 1, it's going to be a waiting game for McLaren. Wait for clean air, put their foot down, and then try and beat him in the pit, beat him there, and get out ahead of him when they make that pit stop. So it's going to be, strategy is, even though it's a one stop, it's still going to be an interesting race today with Max involved. I think if If it was just the McLarens up front on their own, it would be more so of a boring race, I think, because whoever leads at the end of the first lap, that's it. I don't think the second McLaren in like-for-like machinery with no variance to be had in the strategy. We're assuming this is going to be, of course, a race where we don't see safety cars. I don't think so. I think we are going to see a safety car this race. But with Max being there and with Charles close behind as well, he's going to be punchy. He's not going to care about Piastri and Norris's championship battle. Oh, no, he's here for his own reasons. Same thing as Max as well. Max might very well be looking at this going, this is my last chance to realistically win a race this season. Maybe Baku, but there's no other kind of track between now and the end of the season where we can offset their strategy and offset their setup, McLaren, and use the lower downforce setup to beat them. Baku is probably the only one, I think. But it's a much longer track as well, where there's so many more corners where McLaren could, most likely, probably will qualify on pole there, because even with the lack of top speed, they'll make up the time in the corners, with a lot of them being right angles. So it's, Max is definitely going to be wanting to go for it, because it could be his last opportunity to see a race win between now and the end of the season. Unless Antonelli sends it, Speed, but yeah, I mean, yeah, someone could do a 2011 where they just have to take avoiding action. With Ferrari starting at home under huge pressure, do I think they'll compromise race pace just to stay ahead in the early laps? No, I don't think so. No, they're going to be thinking about, ultimately, it's not about the first few laps of them, it's about the race as a whole. So that's what they're going to be prioritising. They want to be on that podium. They'd love Hamilton to be up there as well, get a double podium, but unless there's carnage, Hamilton isn't going to be up there starting from 10th. It's about getting Charles on that podium. Sir Moore, as you sim race on this track, what's one crucial thing that you believe may determine the outcome of this race? It's all about... Oh, it's tricky. It's tricky. I think... I mean, we've already kind of seen it with the setup. It's going to be about the first lap. We've seen how important this season is. The first lap is so important. The first corner is so important in determining a race. But because we know that Red Bull is at a disadvantage compared to the McLarens on their tyres, it's going to be interesting. But I think for Max in particular, to win this race, he needs to be leading at the end of the first lap. If he's not leading at the end of the first lap, it could be tricky for him. But I'm still intrigued to see how in that lower downforce setup, he would be able to overtake the McLarens with the DRS, because his DRS, like, they'll be punching a bigger hole in the air for him because they have a bit more downforce on the car. But not a lot, but a bit more. So, but on the sim, it's all about surviving turn one. Did I see Lindblad's dive bomb crash at F2 today? Yeah, well, it wasn't really a dive bomb. He just locked up massively. And that's something that could play a factor here today. Let's have a look. Let's get everything set up again. That is our strategy for today, guys. So, not really too much to run through as we are approaching the closing, approaching the race here. So, let me make sure I've got everything set up here. So, I think we are good. Let's move you guys back down here. I can move this down here. So, there we go. Yeah, we're all good. We're all good. We're all good to rock and roll. We're all good to rock and roll. 0% chance of the race, of the rain here. But yes, sorry, talking about the wind. So, if you want to know the orientation of the track, basically it's north to south. Right to left is north to south. So, up here, you have the direction of the winds. So if you have a southerly wind, it means a southerly directed wind. It means that you've got a tailwind down into turn one. And I think that's a cause to why we saw some crashes in F3 and some difficulties in F3 and F2 is because they were getting caught out by the tailwind. And what that does, it gives you an extra speed. It means that you have to bring your braking markers back a touch, because if you brake on your normal braking marker, well, you've got too much speed on the car than you initially would because of the tailwind behind you, and that means you're more susceptible to lockups and stuff because you can't slow the car down quick enough, and because then you get that moment where you're like, oh crap, I'm going way too quickly here. You slam your foot on the brakes, and then that's when you get lockups. I think we are going to see lockups here. I think we're going to see some drivers lose positions, getting called out by that tailwind. It does seem like we're not going to see a northerly wind, which is a bit of a shame because a headwind would provide us with potentially some more overtaking because there's more resistance. The DRS then becomes more efficient, as does the slipstream effectiveness as well, which is what you need really at a low downforce circuit because the rear wings aren't as big. You're not giving off as big of a pocket of air. You're not got as much drag, so the slipstream isn't as effective. Neither is the DRS. So that's a bit of a shame, but a southerly wind can still provide us, a tailwind down into turn 1 can still provide us some action. Maybe just not in the overtaking sense, but with some lockups and so forth. And you can see there the wind is changing a bit east now. An easterly direction, so that means a crosswind into turn 7, which is the second Lesmo, where we have seen drivers go off there quite a lot throughout the duration of this weekend. So I'm still going to be very surprised if we don't see a safety car at some point. We've also seen as well the gravel. I mean, drivers are going to throw up gravel onto this track, and we've seen red flags for that in the past. Will we see red flags for them to try and clear up gravel or safety cars? Possibly. Probably, I think, which could provide some strategy here. So maybe they've already got that in the back of their heads, the race director. But yeah, not long to find out, guys. Not long to find out. The south wind comes from the south towards the north in weather forecasting terms. Yes, but not in this sense. So when it says it's a southerly wind, it's not coming from the south. It means it's heading to the south. So it's directing itself to the south. So that's what that arrow means there. So yeah, that's why it would be a tailwind. Why is the pit lane purple, Peter? Because I wanted it to be purple. So that you guys could see it. So you can ascertain where the pit lane actually is. It was grey last time, and I just think grey was a bit meh. But yes, we do have DRS detection zones here, as you can see with my little caption there at the top, so you're not confused as to what they are. DRS, very important here, as we know. And, well, if you're looking at the interval times, when a driver is, of course, within a 1 second range, within the 1 second range at these specific points, that is when they'll be able to have DRS activated. So at least we know, and you guys know, where those guys, the drivers that you're particularly following, where exactly they need to be within 1 second, because they could be within 1 second through turn 4 and turn 5, but it means absolutely diddly squat if they're not within that 1 second range out of turn 6 into the entry of turn 7 there. Likewise, out of the last corner as well. So I'm very well, Brad. Yes, very well. Pit stop timing is crucial at Monza. Is the undercut stronger here, or will the overcut be more effective in clean air? It's a bit of both, to be honest with you. The overcut, I think, is only effective if you can save your tyres. So a team like McLaren in particular, who can look after their tyre life very well, they can ensure that they have enough tyres left when, let's say, as an example, Max pits first. They will have enough tyres left to be able to push on and do some very quick laps in clean air to try and overcut Max. Whereas those that aren't as good as on their tyres, the likes of Gasly, the RBs as an example, Sainz and Albon in the Williams, the undercut will be more powerful to them because the clean air will be more beneficial to them, and holding on to track position will be a better choice for them rather than trying to do the overcut, because they'll just lose time throughout. So yeah, it all depends on how good your car is on tyres, and someone like McLaren is probably the only one where the overcut will be beneficial. But we do know how track position is key here. So yeah, that's why we'll probably see some undercuts, especially if there's DRS trains and people are bleeding time. They'll dip out of those early to try and get some clean air and then hold on to that position. Hey, Cluedo, good to be in position to help one another during the race, but the teammates side by side can also be a curse going into turn 1. Yes, very much so. Where's the little one? We need some Alice. She's feeling under the weather at the moment, Dusko. Yeah, we suspected chickenpox. She's had her first week at nursery, or childminder, and yeah, she's typical come down with potential chickenpox. It's a bug of some sort anyway. So yeah, she's been a lot more sleepier than normal, a bit more grizzly than normal. I was awake 4 times last night, settling her down. So yeah, not ideal. I don't know how many hours of sleep I actually got last night, to be honest with you. At least uninterrupted. Piastri could lead into the first corner. Yes, many drivers could lead into the first corner. We have seen drivers as far back as fourth lead into turn one. Not saying that's going to happen today, but yeah, I suspect we could get a safety car very early on. Welcome to the Z cesspool that is preschool childcare. Yeah. I'm 33, Renz. It's my birthday. Just getting this in early, guys, as we are approaching under 5 minutes or until the race gets underway here with the formation laps at the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. I am 34 in 2 weeks' time. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix, the actual race day, is my birthday. So you got I'm giving you plenty of notice to get your presents, guys, and send over your cards. Right, we have tyre blankets off, and ooh, medium compound tyres on everyone here down into P13. Alex Albon switching up the strategy there, the two Haas's and the two Williams, as to be expected. Stroll also starting on the hard, so they're going to goal hang for a safety car, no doubt. But Liam Lawson is on the soft compound tyre. Interesting, Liam Lawson on the soft compound tyre. Isaac Hadjar and Pierre Gasly are starting from the pit lane. So Isaac Hadjar, if you're unaware, he does have a brand new power unit in the back of his car. He was going to be starting from the back of the grid anyway. And because of that, they've decided to start him from the pit lane because they've obviously made some changes to his setup and broken part Ferme rules, as has Pierre Gasly as well, who we know has not been at the races here this weekend. Former race winner here, of course, back in 2020. So, could he do an Ollie Behrman? Could we see another chaotic race here like we did at Zandvoort? And he does an Ollie Behrman and finishes up in 6th place. But yeah, everyone's starting on the mediums. Understandable, really, for the top half of the table, top half of the grid, because that just leaves them open for varying choices of tyre if there's a safety car, or just onto the hard compound tyre for that primary strategy, that one-stop strategy that we just ran through. So there we go. Right, guys. No tyre data. What do you mean no tyre data? There's tyre data there. They're just taking their tyre blankets off. I suggest you guys go have a quick toilet break, because that's what I'm going to do now, and you top up your beverages and your popcorn and your snacks, because we are 3 minutes away until the formation lap gets started for this Italian Grand Prix. We will have a look at the votes. Get your votes in of who you think is going to win the Italian Grand Prix as well. It's overwhelmingly Max Verstappen at the moment, but it is still neck and neck between Norris, Piastri and Leclerc. Back in a jiffy. Here we go. Less than 2 minutes. That is your notice of less than 2 minutes until the formation lap gets underway. Ooh, here we go. So I'm going to end the poll, and well, overwhelmingly, with over 2,500 votes, we have Max Verstappen, 42%. Think he's going to win. Of course, a brilliant pole position from the Red Bull driver yesterday. Lando Norris, 19%, starting in P2. Charles Leclerc and Oscar Piastri, neck and neck between the two there. I think any one of them, to be honest, can probably win this race. Yes, I do think even Charles Leclerc can. He has proven before that you don't necessarily need to have the fastest car here to win. And if those front three start fighting, Charles Leclerc could stay with them, even with a car that is slower than the two McLarens and that of the Red Bull Max Verstappen. And of course, there is always the possibility of safety cars here and red flags. We have not been immune to seeing those in the past, as we looked at earlier. A very long pit lane stop time here, 24 seconds. You gain 10 seconds if you can pit under a safety car or a VSC, so definitely worthwhile for these drivers. Those gaps are definitely something to be keeping an eye out on, guys. And the undercut drivers are going to be seeking clean air, as we have seen DRS trains here in the past and so often at Monza. In particular, I do think those stake F1 cars of Bortoletto and Hulkenberg, who topped the Sector 1 times throughout qualifying yesterday and practice, and have a significant top speed advantage over their competitors in the midfield. They're going to be a bit of a roadblock for those behind, and they'll be seeking some points today. So yes, we'll see drivers probably dip early out of those inevitable DRS trains behind the stake F1 cars, and who knows what's going to happen up front and down into turn 1. It is not long to go here. 0 seconds now. The formation lap should be getting started here, and, well, we're just waiting for that. My timer seems to be a little bit ahead, as we can see Pierre Gasly making his way to the end of the pit lane. Yes, here we go. They are underway here on the formation lap, and we have only moments to go until this Italian Grand Prix gets underway. Big thank you for tuning in. As always, guys, round 16 of this 2025 season, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Let's just have a look at the championship standings, shall we, as it currently stands. Where did that just go here? We can see here that the Constructors is pretty much all but wrapped up. Oscar Piastri leads Lando Norris by 34 points. Max Verstappen, 205 points, over 100 points back from Oscar Piastri, but he doesn't care. He still wants to win races. He is a race winner, a 4-time world champion, and that's what he loves doing, is winning races. So yes, still lots to play for with second place in the Constructors. So Ferrari, if this race still matters for them, as it does for McLaren with 2 drivers in the top 10. So I'll keep you guys up to date with the permutations of the race today, with the drivers for the championship, particularly Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. But let's have a run through of your grid for the Italian Grand Prix, as everyone has taken their penalties now and we know where they are starting. Max Verstappen, your pole sitter for today, is starting first, with Lando Norris alongside him, just beating him by under a tenth there yesterday in Q3. A brilliant lap by both those drivers. Oscar Piastri, our championship leader, is starting in P3, but do not rule him out of a race win today. He loves winning as well. Charles Leclerc starting in P4. He wants to finish on that podium at the bare minimum in front of the Tifosi. George Russell starts P5 with Kimi Antonelli. Well-needed good qualifying from him in P6. Gabriel Bortoletto is in P7. A good qualifying from him after a poor race at Zandvoort. Fernando Alonso in P8. Tsunoda in P9. Lewis Hamilton with that 5-place grid penalty starts in P10, but was carried over from Zandvoort. Ollie Berman is 11th with Nico Hulkenberg in 12th. The 2 Williams are starting 13th and 14th with Esteban Ocon in 15th. Albon, Ocon, Stroll all on the hard compound tyre. No doubt going long in this race for the overcut, and maybe goal hanging for a safety car. Colapinto is on the mediums in 17th with Liam Lawson, the only driver on this grid to start on the soft compound tyre. Not sure really what RB strategy decision making is there. Isaac Hadjar is starting from the pit lane, as is Pierre Gasly. Isaac Hadjar, a poor qualifying from him yesterday, but he does have a brand new power unit in the back of that RB car, and we'll see if he can make advantage of that extra horsepower he will be receiving from that in this race. But there we go, guys. That is it for the Italian Grand Prix grid. We are moments away from this formation lap coming to an end, as Nico Hulkenberg is in the pit lane. As Nico Hulkenberg dived into the pit lane, is a box to retire the car. Nico Hulkenberg has retired before this race has even begun. Oh no! That'll be music to the Williams' ears, though, of Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon, as they will be not having to look at the rear wing and being stuck behind that very quick in a straight line stake F1 car. But Nico Hulkenberg has had to retire the car before the race has even begun. That's a real shame for him. Not entirely sure what the issue is there for him. But that's a real shame, not even to be able to start this race here at Monza. Clearly something that they have noticed on that car. But Liam Lawson makes his way to the back of the grid there, as we have Hadjar and Gasly in the pit lane. We are seconds away from this race getting underway. Very big, long delay in the lights here, but it's green light and away we go. A very long run down into turn 1 here. We have seen plenty of carnage here in before, but Verstappen seems to have got a decent lead down into turn 1, but Lando Norris is all alongside Verstappen as they head into the braking zone of turn 1. Bortoletto is up into P5, and Verstappen holds off Norris down into turn 1, but there's still another run as they head down into turn 4, and Leclerc has got ahead of Oscar Piastri. Music to Lando Norris's ears, but Leclerc will be looking to get ahead of Norris down into turn 4 as well. Will he be able to do it? Verstappen defends from Lando Norris, and Hamilton makes 2 positions up on Yuki Tsunoda as Antonelli has lost 4 positions at the start of this race. Real shame there for the Italian. A great qualifying from him yesterday, but the big news here is that Verstappen holds on to the lead from Lando Norris as Piastri retakes P3 from Charles Leclerc into the second Lesmo. Piastri was all over the back of Charles Leclerc as they went through Curva Grande. The front 4 neck and neck here at the start of this race. But yes, Piastri is able to regain that position back from Charles Leclerc and be on the rear wing of his championship rival and teammate Lando Norris in P2, who was attacking Max Verstappen at the start of this race, but Max Verstappen is trying to make a getaway from Lando Norris here with that pacey Red Bull. Turn 1 incident, Verstappen and Lando Norris is noted. Let's see, oh no, Lando Norris, what's this idiot doing? Come on, he's put me in the grass and then he's just cut the corner. Watching the start of this race here as Verstappen did force Norris at full tilt onto the grass, down into turn 1, and then Verstappen cut the chicane. Wow, the stewards will be looking at that. Absolutely crazy moments here at the start of this race, but Max Verstappen, is he going to be giving the position back to Lando Norris here? I think he could be as they head down into turn 1, as Lando Norris heads down into turn 1 and Max relinquishes P1 from Lando Norris, or is he still fighting for this position here as they make their way out of turn 2? And Charles Leclerc retakes P3 from Oscar Piastri. Who would have thought it? We are seeing overtakes left, right and centre here at the start of this race at Monza. Apologies for the track map, slightly delay here, but yes, Lando Norris was relinquished the position. Max Verstappen did relinquish that position to Lando here. As rightfully so, it does seem like it was. I don't know if that was a decision by Max Verstappen or whether he was told to give that back. And we can see there, because of that, no further investigation between Verstappen and Norris, as they deemed what Verstappen did there was acceptable in relinquishing P1 back from Lando. So Lando, for the first time in a long time, did get a very good start. But it is currently Lando Norris leading from Max Verstappen in P2, Charles Leclerc in P3, and Oscar Piastri is in P4. George Russell is 5th, with Bortoletto up into 6th. Alonso is 7th. Hamilton is up 2 places in 8th at the moment, with Yuki Tsunoda in 9th. Antonelli down 4 places into turn 10. Down into 10th place at the moment. Not entirely sure what happened with his race start. I'll have to see a replay. As Piastri is reporting, Leclerc is all over the place, moving in the braking zone. We have seen George Russell complain about Charles Leclerc's defence in recent races as well. So Charles Leclerc trying to do everything to hold off Oscar Piastri at the moment, and he would love to finish on that podium today. Ollie Behrman is in P11. Sainz and Albon are up a position. Ocon is P14. Lawson is up 3 positions into P15. Stroll has decided... Stroll is in the pit... No, Stroll is not in the pit lane. Colapinto is 17th. Hadjar is 18th. And Gasly is 19th as they make their way down the start-finish straight again for the 3rd time. DRS will be activated for Max Verstappen. How quick is that Red Bull in a straight line? Will he be able to gain on Lando Norris as they head down into turn 1 and regain that first place, but he had to relinquish after tangling very much so in the first couple of corners? And, well, it does seem that Norris and Verstappen currently pulling away from Charles Leclerc, which Piastri will not be too keen on. But Piastri has gone for a move on Leclerc into turn 2. They're side by side as they went through turn 2. This is backing up the rest of the field, and Leclerc still holds on to that position. They're now 2 seconds behind Norris and Verstappen. This is what happens when drivers go side by side through these very slow corners here. They lose a considerable amount of time on their competitors. As Verstappen is still really close to Norris at the moment. Apologies with the delay with the data at the moment. It will sort itself out. It's just because the cars are very close together at this moment in time. But yes, Norris leads as George Russell gets back past Gabriel Bortoletto. It seems that Bortoletto got past George Russell at the moment. But as it currently stands, if this was to remain as it currently is, with Norris in P1 and Piastri in P4, Norris would gain 25 points compared to Piastri's 12. And there would be 21 points separating the 2 rivals with 8 rounds remaining. This would be brilliant for Lando Norris, but he has Max Verstappen all over his rear at the moment. Apologies for the lag at this current moment in time here at the start of this race. This always happens at Monza, guys, for some reason. It's one of the tracks that always provides lag at the start of the race, regardless of how fast your internet is and regardless of how much delay you have on your data. But yes, Lando Norris with 3 laps completed leads from Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc is P3 with Piastri in P4. George Russell is P5, and there's a massive DRS train behind Charles Leclerc at this moment in time, which is really interesting. I am going to just restart this as it currently stands, guys, and just see if we can sort out the data as we are seeing here. But at the moment, the track map is, oh my goodness, absolutely ridiculous right at this moment in time. There we go. As Verstappen is overtaking Lando, as we just refreshed there, Verstappen gets past Lando Norris into turn 1, and Verstappen regains the lead of the Italian Grand Prix. There we go. Lando Norris, will he be able to go back on the attack of Verstappen down into turn 4? No, he cannot. It was a matter of time, and Verstappen, in that quick low downforce package that he has on that car, with that brand new power unit in the back of that Red Bull, has got past Lando Norris down into turn 1. Great overtake there. We refreshed just in time, guys. We refreshed just in time, and hopefully that does sort out any issues that we have been receiving here with the data. Charles Leclerc is now nearly 3 seconds back from Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri will not be looking at this, but what that has done, it means that Lando Norris now would only be gaining 6 points on his teammates, which means he would have 28 points rather than 21 difference between him and his teammate in this championship. But Piastri is all over the rear of Charles Leclerc at this moment in time. You do think it's a matter of when, not if. But as we will see, Charles Leclerc with a lower downforce setup compared to that of McLaren with Oscar Piastri does have more straight line speed. As they make their way down into turn 1 again, Verstappen with 5 laps completed now, or on the 5th lap here of this 53-lap race. It is Verstappen leading from Lando Norris, and he is pulling out of the DRS of Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc is P3, Piastri is P4, George Russell is P5, Bortoletto P6, and Hamilton is now up into P7 as he gets past Fernando Alonso into P7 for Lewis Hamilton. That 5-place grid penalty that he had to start this race with, he is now onto the back of Gabriel Bortoletto as he sets the fastest first sector of anyone today, and well, his teammate is only a couple of seconds up the road with Oscar Piastri and George Russell, his former teammate, all over his rear wing. But Verstappen has gained on Lando Norris. He is out of that DRS of Lando Norris at the moment, and importantly a 1.37 second gap now. So I guess what is going to be the case, as Oscar Piastri is trying to attack Charles Leclerc, so much so at the moment, but Charles Leclerc keeps coming back at Charles Leclerc as it currently stands. No, sorry, my TV coverage is now actually ahead as Charles... Apologies here. I've got my Ferrari shirt back on. I am on a delay. What is going on here? Apologies. I am going to restart. I am actually on a delay. Bear with me. What is going on with my data today? Guys, what is going on with my data today? As Oscar Piastri has just got past Charles Leclerc down into turn 1. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with the live data. The live data is normally ahead at this moment in time. But Charles Leclerc is into P4 as he has been overtaken by Oscar Piastri here. So yes, Verstappen leads from Oscar Piastri. I'm going to turn that TV off because I'm going to use the other one as that's better. It's putting me off at the moment. So Verstappen leads from Lando Norris in P2. Piastri has just got past Charles Leclerc now, and he's only 1 position behind his teammate Lando Norris. He would only be gaining 3 points on his teammate as it currently stands. It looked like he was going to be gaining considerably more than that, Lando, but now he is only going to be gaining 3 points, 18 to 15 as it stands. And well, it's normal service resumed really for the top 5 where they started. Verstappen first with Norris in P2, Piastri P3, Charles Leclerc is P4 with George Russell in P5. Gabriel Bortoletto is in P6 with Hamilton up 3 positions into P7 and closing down Bortoletto very quickly. Alonso is in P8 with Tsunoda in P9. Kimi Antonelli is P10. Behrman is 11th. Sainz is 12th. Albon is 13th. Ocon is 14th. Lawson is 15th. Stroll 16th. Colapinto 17th. Hadjar is 18th and Gasly is 19th with Hulkenberg the only retirement in this race. But we can see that Piastri looking to be defending here from Charles Leclerc and even potentially George Russell as they head down into turn 1. George Russell all in the DRS, all up into the rear wing of Oscar Piastri at the moment. Good afternoon. I want to thank for the pink dots for the DRS. It's a nice touch. Yes, the DRS detection zone's there. So reviewed, no further investigation. Yuki Tsunoda and Lewis Hamilton earlier on leaving the track and gaining an advantage. As Lewis Hamilton has got past Bortoletto into turn 1. And Hamilton now finds himself up into P6 and looking to chase down his teammate, who is only 2 positions ahead of him and only a second up the road. He has George Russell in his sights right now, and Lewis Hamilton is up 4 positions here. He gained a position very early on from Kimi Antonelli's poor start, but that is tremendous nonetheless, and he is putting on a show here and making overtakes and giving something for the Tifosi to cheer, with Oscar Piastri not that far up the road either. George Russell is now in the DRS of Charles Leclerc, as Charles, importantly, has lost the DRS of Oscar Piastri. He regains it as they head into the Ascari chicane, but will he be able to gain it on the exit? No, he's lost it. So Leclerc could be at risk here of an overtake from George Russell when they make their way down the start-finish straight. But Verstappen leads from Norris here. 2 seconds is the gap to Norris and Verstappen as it currently stands. Piastri, he has pulled out a 1 second gap on Leclerc. He will still get a slipstream here as they head down into turn 1, but it is not as effective as we have seen at other circuits, of course, with the low downforce setups that these are running here. It's a tailwind down into turn 1, so they all get extra assistance as they make their way down into the first corner. Over 200 miles an hour that these guys are travelling at this moment in time. Let's see, Lewis Hamilton, can he gain on George Russell? He may be actually under attack from Gabriel Bortoletto, who is very quick in that Stake F1 car, but he might just be accepting that his race is not particularly today with Lewis Hamilton. It is with his manager and his mentor, Fernando Alonso, behind him. We saw them fight, of course, back in Hungary, and well, that it's now roles reversed as it currently stands. Under investigation, Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll for forcing another driver off the track, as Isaac Hadjar does gain a position on Pierre Gasly. He has a brand new power unit in the back of that RB car. He made setup changes to that car as well, and he is not able to make much headway at this moment in time, but he is on the hard compound tyre. Those on the hard compound tyre looking to go longer in this race, maybe goal hang for a safety car, and hope that they gain a cheap pit stop. Remember, a safety car pit stop here would gain you 10 seconds out on track on those who pit under green flag conditions. A very long pit stop here. It is at Monza, with the drivers travelling at very high speeds down the start-finish straight while you trundle down that pit stop at 80 kilometres an hour. And the length of it as well is also quite long. But Verstappen, as Charles Leclerc, is actually under attack from George Russell into turn 11, the last corner, and he actually backs off a little bit there, George Russell, because he wants the slipstream out of turn 11. Trying to go for an overtake into turn 11 isn't always necessarily the best strategy, but it can put the driver ahead off a little bit. He has the DRS open. He's under half a second here. George Russell on Charles Leclerc. Will he be able to get ahead of Charles as they head down into turn 1? Piastri is still towing that of the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc along, though. He is within 1 second. He doesn't have DRS, but he's still just got enough, it seems, down into turn 1. We'll see if it's all about the exit here, and George Russell unable just to get past Charles there. He needs to separate Charles from Oscar Piastri's slipstream at the moment. He's just still too close for him to get a sufficient tow down into turn 1, as Lewis Hamilton now has dropped back to 2 seconds, 2.2 seconds back behind Leclerc and Russell. Is this a decision by Lewis Hamilton at this moment in time just to sit back here and look after his tyres for a little bit while he has been on the attack to gain those positions to get up into P6? And there's a 5-second time penalty for Ocon. It's a 5-second penalty to Ocon for forcing another driver off the track. Oh, unbelievable. Apologies, guys, if everything is a little bit out of sync in relation to your TV coverage. Yes, it does seem that the data here this week at Monza is not as good as it has been at other circuits. So, yes, Esteban Ocon, a 5-second penalty for Ocon. A classic there for forcing Lance Stroll, of all people, off of the track, as Ocon is down in P14 at this moment in time. So not a good race for him. He is looking to go long in this race as well. Currently really a bit out of position. Split strategy being deployed here by the two Haas's, one on the mediums with Ollie Behrman in P11 and Ocon on the hard. But George Russell is he's close to Charles Leclerc, the same as he was last time around. But Charles Leclerc, importantly, is not as close as he was. He's lost a couple of attempts there. He lost 4 attempts to Piastri last time out. And, well, George Russell that still isn't close enough for George to get there, as Liam Lawson has decided to pit off of those soft compound tyres. So he is the first driver to pit here. Will he be going onto the hard compound tyre? Is this a 44-lap stint on the way for Liam Lawson in this race, potentially, as he is on the soft compound tyre. He'll be coming off of that. We have seen long stints from Liam Lawson in the past, which has gained him points scoring position. So is that the strategy here? It is indeed. He's on the hard compound tyre, and well, Liam Lawson will have clean air ahead of him. Let's see how many positions he can gain on this undercut and whether anyone decides to respond. But he was the only driver who started on the soft compound tyre, so we do expect that medium will be going a lot longer than that soft. But at the moment, there's a lot of drivers here in a train of cars. So, will they decide to pit? Will Sainz pit off of those mediums? Will Ollie Bearman pit off of those mediums? And Kimi Antonelli, who finds himself as well in P10 after a poor start to this race. Hulkenberg explanation yet, Lachlan? I haven't heard anything in relation to why Hulkenberg has retired. Potentially, you guys can inform me of that. And no doubt it has been mentioned online on Twitter. But as it currently stands, on the 11th lap here of this 53-lap Italian Grand Prix, it is Verstappen leading 3.3 seconds ahead of Lando Norris, with Oscar Piastri in P3, a further 4.5 seconds back from his teammate. Charles Leclerc is in P4, 2 seconds back from Piastri, and losing even more time as George Russell is in P5, just 8 tenths back. Hamilton is in P6. He's been up 4 positions. He's now gaining a bit of time after losing a bit of time and maybe just cooling off his medium compound tyres after an initial charge. Is now closing in on his teammate and George Russell. Gabriel Bortoletto is in P7 with Alonso chasing him down, the manager there and the employee, should I say, in P7 and P8. Tsunoda is in P9, holding up a big train of cars at the moment, with Antonelli, Bearman, Sainz, Albon, Ocon, Stroll all behind. And we have Colapinto in Hadjar in 16th and 17th. Gasly is in 18th, and Lawson, who has made that one and only pit stop at the moment. Apologies for the slight delay here, or the lag at the moment. I'm not entirely sure why it has been occurring. I do have very quick internet here, guys. 1 gigabyte to be exact. So what you are experiencing, unfortunately, is from the F1 data side. Not entirely sure why it is occurring like this. We'll refresh it soon to see if it maybe put more of a delay on it. But yes, we do have a 7-second delay at the moment, and it seems to not be ideal. We've sorted anything out, but for the most part, we are able to ascertain what is going on. Italian internet, Tom? Yeah, probably. It's probably the information that's being relayed from Italy at the moment out to the rest of the world. So, yeah, bit of a shame. FIA data is lagging on their side. I'm all good. Thank you, Noodly. So it isn't myself. It is the F1 data. Thank you. Much appreciated. A matter of time before the oil pressure is gone in those McLarens, just like precious weekends. Ooh, bold claims, GI, bold claims. But yes, we have currently a 5-second gap. Norris does have the pace over Piastri at the moment. He is he's a bit closer, of course, to Verstappen, so he's getting a bit more of a tow, even from 4 seconds back. As Ocon is saying that it's ridiculous he was given that 5-second time penalty, but how often have we seen a 5-second time penalty for Ocon? The hell is Hadjar doing? He needs to overtake fast. Yes, Isaac Hadjar at the moment has just, right on cue, your ask and you shall receive. Isaac Hadjar has just got past Colapinto down into turn 2, and he holds on to it as well. Isaac Hadjar up into P16 on the hard compound tyre. His race is not over and done with yet, so a very long way still to go in this race. Max Verstappen, the gap's forming now, as you can see at the front. George Russell still keeping the pressure up on Charles Leclerc at the moment, just allowing Charles really to tow him along. But could George maybe go even quicker if he was released from Charles Leclerc's dirty air? Maybe, but importantly for George, if he wants to get past Charles Leclerc, that gap to Leclerc and Piastri is increasing. So his effectiveness of that DRS will become more, because Charles won't get the tow as sufficiently from Oscar Piastri as he has done in previous laps. Let's see how he fares here out of the exit of turn 11. George Russell half a second back. He has been closer in the times gone by. He really needs to be under 4 tenths. You do suspect to have an opportunity at going past Charles. Of course, you only want to make a clean overtake here at Monza, because otherwise you're just going to lose completely unnecessary time, and you're also going to bring the cars in behind you into your battle. And, well, yes, that's not really good for anyone's race chances as a whole. But big train there behind Bortoletto, as we predicted at the start of this race. Bortoletto in that very, very quick in a straight line Stake F1 car in P7. He has Alonso, Tsunoda, Antonelli, Behrman, Sainz, Albon, Ocon, and Stroll all behind him. He has at least 7 cars stuck in his wake at the moment because he is just a roadblock and cannot overtake. Big thank you, by the way. What happened to Hulkenberg? Still not unsure what happened with Nico Hulkenberg. Yes, at the moment, it is the FIA. It is the data being sent from Formula 1 that is the issue at this moment in time. It is not my internet, guys. So, yes, apologies for any lag that you are experiencing. Monza, I remember this happening at Monza last year as well. Normally sorts itself out as the race progresses because they'll obviously have people working on a fix. But yeah, at least we can still ascertain what is occurring in this race. I know it's unfortunate for myself, and I appreciate it's very distracting for you as well. Monza is just using the same data transmitters from 1922. Yes. Max's tyres will wear faster than Norris's. Long way to go in this. Yes, Mike, indeed. And that's probably what Max is trying to do at the moment. Max is trying to utilise that clean air he has in front of him, the lead that he has in front of him, because who knows what strategy Norris is going to deploy here. Of course, Norris wants that race win because he'd love to gain an additional 7 points on his teammate. At the moment, it is only 3 points he would be gaining on his teammate, which is not a lot. It's something, but it's not a lot. 324 points to 293. That gap would only come down to 31 points rather than an extra 7 points, which would be an overall 10 points down to 24, which would be a race less than the race win difference. That's key here. So Lando, of course, thinking about the race win. Oscar Piastri currently doing his own thing at the moment and managing his race. He has a significant buffer, of course, to his teammates. And, well, he has held off the challenge of Charles Leclerc, really, the battle there, regaining P3, but that's lost him important time to his teammate. And, well, who knows? There is always the potential of a safety car here as well at Monza, especially with those drivers. Look at that trainer cars behind Bortoleto at this moment in time. Anything, one slight mistake from those drivers there, being very close in proximity as they are, could bring out a safety car or even a red flag and completely flip this race on its head. The 33 megahertz Monza telemetrics working overtime. Yeah, you watch F1 the move in, you expect someone doing plan C. We could see a plan D. No, we probably won't see that much at Monza. It is normally a pretty straightforward one stop here. That is normally what we see at Monza. And, well, we have seen Liam Lawson, the only driver thus far, make a pit stop here as he started on the soft compound tyre and will be looking to go long in this race and undercut those who were ahead of him. He was in the bottom 5 when, I think he was in the bottom 5 when he pitted. So we'll see if he's able to launch. We'll see how far he's going to be able to launch himself up ahead of maybe Gabriel Bortoleto. That's what he'll be looking for at the moment. He'll be looking at that gap. The RB team will be looking at that train. But Gabriel Bortoleto is currently running at this moment in time behind him. They're lapping at 124s, mid to low 24s. And Liam Lawson last time out was a high 23. So he is chipping away at that gap in front. And 24 seconds is the gap for pit stops here. So yes, he is definitely going to find himself right in the middle of that pack and gaining positions with this early undercut. But the question is, would he be able to hold on to it? We have seen overtaking possible here, and of course it's all about the traction out of the corner, out the slow corners. So yes, having younger tyres is advantageous still, even at a circuit like Monza. But with 17 laps completed, it is Max Verstappen leading 4.3 seconds ahead of Lando Norris as he sets the fastest lap of the race, a 23.001. Lando Norris in P2, 4.3 seconds behind. Oscar Piastri, 5 seconds, nearly 6 seconds behind his teammate as it currently stands here, and over 10 seconds behind Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc is in P4. He's 3.4 seconds behind Oscar Piastri. He did overtake him at the start of this race, but was unable to hold on to that position. They switched positions a couple of times, actually, in the early stages. George Russell was in the DRS of Charles Leclerc, but has now decided to drop back either by choice or just because his tyres are starting to hurt more than he would like as we bed into this first stint here. And we are pretty much waiting for that first round of pit stops. Lewis Hamilton has been looking after his tyres for some time in P6. He charged up into P6 quite early on in this race and has just not really decided to get on the back of George Russell. He's attempted a couple of times and then quickly decided to drop back into that tyre management phase here. Gabriel Bortoleto, 4.7 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, and he has a train of cars behind him. It seems Yuki Tsunoda has made just a little mistake there and has dropped off of the back of Fernando Alonso as he has Kimi Antonelli in close proximity now. Ollie Behrman in P11, Sainz, Albon, Ocon and Stroll all included in that DRS train behind Yuki Tsunoda as they've just broken away from Gabriel Bortoleto and Fernando Alonso. Lance Stroll, Isaac Hadjar is in P16. He's 2 seconds behind Lance Stroll at the moment. And what's intriguing here is that Albon, Ocon and Stroll and Hadjar in P13, 14, 15 and 16 are all on the hard compound tyres. So they're going to be looking to extend here than those ahead of them who are on the mediums. And, well, it probably won't be too long until we see them drop off those mediums. Who is going to decide to pit first out of this train? That is what is the question I'm looking at the moment. In relation to the front, Max Verstappen is continuing to pump in fast laps. Another purple from him, a 22.890 compared to Norris's 23.2. And, well, I guess the question... Max just has the genuine pace over the McLarens. Could he be going too quick? Maybe. Is he taking too much out of his tyres? Maybe. We don't know. As Carlos Sainz, failing to follow race director's instructions. As Kimi Antonelli, we have an overtake on track, and Kimi Antonelli gets past Yuki Tsunoda into P9. A good overtake for Kimi Antonelli there. Simple slipstream past the Red Bull driver. A poor start from Kimi as he finds himself down in P9, but that's one position regained after the start of this race. Telemetry is... I'm going to slap... you're going to screen slap, yeah. This data at the moment is laggy from the F1's end, so we do apologise for that. It's outside of my control. We have refreshed a few times. I do have very quick internet here, guys, in the UK, so it's not my internet. I know that for sure. So, yes, it is the data that is being transferred from the F1, from trackside itself. But yes, Verstappen, another fast lap for Verstappen. So Verstappen is on full push mode at the moment, you do suspect, with those purple sectors. He is trying to build a gap, bridge a gap between himself and Lando Norris at the moment. 5 seconds is the gap to them. He knows that they are good on their tyres, and it's about building a gap now to that of Bortoleto. Maybe that's what they're seeing here at this moment in time. I think that's what they're seeing. So Red Bull in particular, remember, it was a 24-second gap, a pit stop lost time as Ollie Behrman is the first to pull the trigger and pit here out of that train. So yes, that's what Verstappen is trying to do here. He's trying to build a gap to Gabriel Bortoleto. The team have clearly seen that Bortoleto is holding up the midfield here. 25 seconds is the gap, and Max is pushing to try and find himself a gap so that he can pit. Because at the moment, Norris would pit right in the middle, or everyone behind would pit right in the middle behind those that train where Bortoleto is, and that's not what they want. So that's what Verstappen is doing at the moment. He's trying to push to build that gap so that he can come out ahead of Bortoleto, and that would be absolutely perfect and sweet for the Red Bull driver and his aspirations to win this race today. Norris and Piastri clearly have a difference of approach at the moment with their strategy, probably looking to go a lot longer in this race, and as we predicted at the start, try and do the overcut on Max Verstappen. As Verstappen on the radio is told, yes, keep edging out the advantage this stint. So this is very good work, GP says on the radio to Max Verstappen, as he has a 5.5 second lead and a 26 second gap now to Gabriel Bortoleto. So that gap, that pit stop window, bridging itself out perfectly at this moment in time. A little bit of a buffer for a poor pit stop, but of course we know Red Bull, when the pressure is on the pit stop, as there are tyres coming out of the pit lane as Yuki Tsunoda was told to box, and is boxing indeed. So Yuki Tsunoda into the pit lane and is boxing right at this moment in time. So he's the second driver to get out of that DRS train on the medium compound tyres. Will he be able to get out ahead of Ollie Behrman? This is a response to Ollie Behrman, and well, Liam Lawson has already launched Ollie Behrman, but he has done 10 laps more on that hard compound tyre. So Liam Lawson has got ahead of Yuki Tsunoda. A great undercut by Liam Lawson. We'll see if he can hold on to it come the end of this race. And Tsunoda comes out ahead of Ollie Behrman. So a cover there for Tsunoda on Ollie Bearman with the Haas. But Liam Lawson, who was the first driver to pit on lap 9 on that set of soft compound tyres, has already gained considerable amount of time on those ahead. And, well, he is ahead of Yuki Tsunoda and Ollie Bearman, as Tsunoda is looking to defend from Ollie Bearman as they head down into turn 4. Very, very risky place to overtake, as we know. And fair room has been given. And Ollie Bearman, on an extra lap there, on that set of hard compound tyres, up to temperature, overtakes Yuki Tsunoda into turn 4. But will Yuki be able to come back at Bearman once those tyres get up to temperature himself? Maybe. But Bearman making quick work of Tsunoda there. He wasn't able to utilise the undercut exactly, but he has, with that extra lap of warm tyres that are on those hards, get past him. As Bortoleto pits now, Alonso pits. So there we go. We're starting to see the midfield pit. And, well, that is it for kind of Max Verstappen. That gap now is clear there for Max Verstappen to pit into, and even Lando Norris as well. So Bortoleto and Alonso pitting. It is only the top 7 cars there, and Sainz, who is on the medium compound tyres, yet to pit off of the mediums. Colapinto, sorry, as well. Bortoleto and Alonso, no doubt, coming onto the hards. Yes, as it is a one-stop here. We're approaching the halfway mark of this 53-lap race. And Alonso and Bortoleto. Lawson's going to get ahead of Bortoleto here, as Bortoleto has lost a position to Alonso in the pit. So a poor pit stop for Stake F1, as Alonso has got ahead of his protege in the pit lane. A good pit stop by Aston Martin, and Liam Lawson has found himself ahead of Bortoleto. Bortoleto and Alonso were fighting for the point scoring positions. Liam Lawson, when he pitted, was only like 17th, I think it was, and he now finds himself in 16th, but in a net P8 or 7, I think it was, wherever they just pitted from. So Liam Lawson there, very, very good pit stop by the RB team, but will he be able to hold on? He has 11 lap older tyres than that of Bortoleto, Alonso, Bearman and Tsunoda. So we'll see if he's going to be able to do some very, very good defensive work here. Of course, collided with Carlos Sainz back in Zandvoort. We know that he is aggressive when it comes to his racing, so we'll see how he fares. Lawson was 15th when he pitted. Okay, so I mean, he's gained significant amount of positions net-wise as it currently stands. But will he be able to hold on to it? We will see. I think Gabriel Bortoleto might be able to retake the position back from Liam Lawson with that pacey car. We'll see how much grip he has out of turn 11. As Charles Leclerc is being gained on a bit. Is he being gained on a bit by George Russell? No, he's not. He's not at this moment in time. And the gaps at the front are pretty much staying consistent at this moment in time. If anything, Lewis Hamilton has gained on George Russell, as that gap is now down to 2 seconds, as there's another purple middle sector from Max Verstappen. But here goes Bortoleto and Liam Lawson down into turn 1. Does he have enough there? Liam Lawson, interesting. Gabriel Bortoleto, not quite got enough down into turn 1, even on fresh tyres. But does he have the grip out of turn 2 on Liam Lawson? They're very quick in this first sector, Gabriel Bortoleto, and he's past Liam Lawson before they even get into turn 4. And I don't think Liam Lawson has anything in response to the very quick Stake F1 car, the only Stake F1 car out on track at the moment, with Nico Hulkenberg not even starting this race. So a real shame for Nico Hulkenberg, and we're unaware exactly why that occurred. No doubt probably an engine issue. F1 TV app sucks in Ireland. Damn you, Sky TV. Yeah, not very good at the moment, unfortunately, guys, with the data. Apologies, there is a little bit of a lag here that we are experiencing. There's nothing that I can do. We have refreshed a numerous amount of times already, and I do have quick internet my end. So, yes, apologies for that at the moment. Max indeed did have the fastest car, yes, and when he's in clean air, most definitely. But at the moment, the gap to Norris and Verstappen is 6 seconds, and it's 6 seconds to Oscar Piastri back in P3 as well. Charles Leclerc is P4, 5.3 seconds back, with George Russell 2 seconds further back in P5. Lewis Hamilton up 4 positions into P6 and looking to attack maybe George Russell. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, you do think if they want to get on the podium today and try and go at Oscar Piastri, they do need a bit of outside assistance from a safety car to bunch up the field once again. But at the moment, it does look like it's going to be too much for them to get past Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Further down, we have Sainz and Albon in the DRS. They're the only drivers within the DRS at the moment. We're still waiting for those in the top 8 to make a pit stop. A lot of the field still to make a pit stop. The top 14 cars. A lot of drivers here still on the hard compound tyres. Albon, Ocon, Stroll, Hadjar and Gasly. They're going long in this race, maybe hoping for a safety car or just looking to do the overcut on those other drivers who are on the mediums, as Alonso is holding up at the moment. Gabriel Bortoleto with Lawson in P17, Behrman in 18th and Tsunoda in 19th. How has Tsunoda found himself behind all of those drivers at this moment in time? So yes, Tsunoda there not got a good pit stop, it seems. It wasn't a good pit stop for Yuki Tsunoda as he finds himself where he currently is. Nico Hülkenberg retired before the race even began. Not entirely sure what happened with Nico Hülkenberg. Still trying to find out exactly what occurred, but no doubt a terminal issue for Hülkenberg that they saw on the data. As there's lots of track limits at the moment, by the way. Turn 5, Kimi Antonelli and Carlos Sainz, lots of track limits happening for drivers through turn 4 and turn 5. Are we starting to see these medium compound tyres struggle here under the braking into turn 4 and turn 5? It is a tailwind into turn 1 at the moment as Lawson is coming under attack from Behrman and Tsunoda. He's losing a bit of ground to Bortoleto and Alonso, who are on much fresher tyres, 10 lap younger tyres than that of Lawson as it currently stands. But Oscar Piastri has just pumped in a fastest middle sector, but that's only a tenth quicker than that of his teammates, who is 6 seconds up the road. And it's interesting at this moment in time, guys, this race, Max Verstappen has pulled out a nice advantage on Norris. He is continuing to gain a little advantage and chip away at that gap and increase that gap that he has over Norris at the moment. But there is still always that little concern of how good will he be on the tyres? Will he be suffering on those tyres with that lower downfill setup of Max Verstappen? And we know the McLaren is very good on its tyres, but I think at the moment Max Verstappen has plenty in hand, and that's what Red Bull have done. They've looked to build a gap over the McLarens just in case something does happen with the tyres later on in the race. Oh, Fernando Alonso has a rear puncture. Fernando Alonso has a rear puncture, guys. Fernando Alonso going slow, and Fernando Alonso has a rear puncture. Oh no, Fernando Alonso. What has happened to Fernando here? A real shame from him. He was running in net in the points, and now Fernando Alonso, we're not entirely sure if that's happened because of a contact. Normally it is contact, or whether or not it's a slow puncture that has occurred to a curb strike. It's not going to bring out a safety car at the moment as Albon now switches position to Carlos Sainz. Not entirely sure what has occurred here as Lawson has been overtaken by Ollie Behrman now into turn 1. But Alonso makes his way into the pit lane. Suspension failure. It's not even a puncture. It's a suspension failure. So that is an early retirement for Fernando Alonso, unfortunately, here. And, well, Fernando Alonso, his suspension has gone. Where has it gone? Has it gone on the curb? Oh, my goodness. A big suspension failure as he exited the Ascari chicane. You can see the vibrations through the curb on the exit, and well, clearly that suspension could take it no more, and it just went. It was just a typical exit out of turn 10 for Fernando Alonso, and the suspension broke. So a real shame for him. That is him out of this race, and we have 2 retirements here. Fernando Alonso and Nico Hülkenberg, 2 of the oldest drivers on the grid. Hopefully there's not a third one, and it's Lewis Hamilton, who is currently finding himself running up in P6. But for Gabriel Bortoleto, that provides him some clean air ahead of him. He'll be kind of happy about that, to be perfectly honest with you, even though it is his manager, because he will have clean air ahead of him now with Pierre Gasly up there. We can see turn 4 incident. Carlos Sainz is under investigation again for failing to follow race director's instructions, escape road instructions. That's the second time he has been noted for that infringement, so we'll see whether or not there'll be anything coming his way. But he has swapped positions with Alex Albon. Maybe it was because of that exact moment, as Albon has been following Sainz quite closely, but they are on a split strategy there. Albon on the hard compound tyres with Sainz on the mediums. Maybe this is a pit stop incoming for Carlos Sainz, and he's starting to struggle on those medium compound tyres. Ooh, how many laps are there? The lap count at the moment is 27, and we have 27 laps remaining. We are halfway through this race. Piastri is told, considering plan A plus 15. Do you think that's possible? I think so for now, yes. So they're looking to go 15 laps longer than their plan A lap, So Norris and Piastri, or Piastri in particular, has been told and says he can go 15 laps longer. So they're going to take this medium compound tyre long and try and do the overcut as we predicted on the Red Bull of Max. Potentially. Max may be good on his tyres as well and be thinking, I'm not pitting right now. I've got plenty in reserve. I've got this gap. I'm managing the gap. Very equal lap times between him and Norris last time around. 22.841 compared to Verstappen's 22.937. Although Norris just has gained a couple of attempts there in that first sector, and he's gained another 10th in the middle sector as well. Sainz is reporting his front tyres are dead in traffic, so Sainz not happy at the moment. Apologies with the data as it currently stands. A big delay here as it is. Tsunoda now gets past Liam Lawson as well, but we have just lost Fernando Alonso and Nico Hulkenberg in this race. Big thank you for everyone tuning in, by the way. Hope you are well. Hope this Sunday is treating you well, and you're enjoying this Italian Grand Prix. We are still yet to see the majority of the field here make their one and predicted only pit stop. It is always a one stop here at Monza. We have had some slight lagging issues in relation to the data being received from F1, so it's a real shame there as Lawson has got back past Yuki Tsunoda. So not entirely sure what happened with Yuki Tsunoda. George Russell is now making his one and only pit stop, it seems, as he is ahead promotes Lewis Hamilton into P5. I am, bear with me, just going to refresh this one more time and see if we can get this updated without issue. There we go. Let's see how this fares. Hopefully it's okay. We've got a little bit of a delay on it, 7 seconds, but normally that is okay. We'll see if that sorts itself out, and hopefully we have no further issues as it currently stands. But yes, no, lag instantly, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. So apologies there. But Russell, yes, has pitted. He is out of the pits and reprimand for Carlos Sainz, failing to follow race director's instructions, escape road. Oh my God, Lawson and Tsunoda fighting there as Tsunoda pushed Liam Lawson off there. I think Lawson, has he given the position back to Tsunoda? He has indeed. So yes, Liam Lawson did give the position back to Yuki Tsunoda because of him not being enough past the apex, ahead at the apex there. So learning his lesson, as he knows. So yes, Yuki Tsunoda got that position back from Liam Lawson, but they're currently fighting for 17th and 18th at this moment in time. Lawson got to calm down. He went for the move, but Yuki used the racing guidelines to his advantage, which he is rightfully allowed to do. Not sure why Yuki went off track himself, so they might look at that, but Lawson did get the position back. Antonelli is in the pit lane. He's now making his pit stop as he comes out of P7 there and drops his way down. Let's see where he rejoins. George Russell comes past the pit lane now. Is anyone in this top 7 going to pit, or in this top 5 in particular, going to pit? No, they're going to continue to extend here. Of course, we know Oscar Piastri was told plan A plus 15, so they're looking to go long in this race. But at the moment, those gaps have stayed pretty constant between the front three for the majority of this race. 6 seconds between Verstappen to Norris and Norris to Piastri at the moment. Charles Leclerc has been losing time. He is doing 23 zeros at the moment with Norris and Piastri just creeping into the 22s, as does Max Verstappen as well. Lewis Hamilton in the low 23s as Verstappen pumps in a fastest last sector out of anyone today, a 27.2. But Lando Norris does a green lap for him, PB for him, 22.757. Oscar Piastri does a fastest lap of the race. So we're starting to see these guys push a bit more here. I still think it's a bit much for them to start pushing. Will they be going on, if the way they're going at the moment, they'll be going onto the soft compound tyre at the end of this race. That is how long this medium compound tyre is lasting here at the moment. We didn't think we'd see the soft compound tyre today, but that is how long. Even on the softest range, the C3, the C4 and the C5, we are seeing these drivers take this tyre quite a considerable margin, as Antonelli has been given a black and white flag for track limits. So one more track limits violation for Kimi Antonelli, and he will receive a 5-second time penalty. Hopefully that's not the case for him, as he is on course to score points today, with drivers still ahead of him yet to pit, as George Russell sets the fastest lap of the race on a brand new set of hard compound tyres, a 22.421 for the British driver. He was looking to try and overtake Charles Leclerc. We'll see what will happen with this strategy. George Russell committing to the hard compound tyre, whereas it does look like the top 5 will be eking out these mediums and go onto the softs in the closing stages. Do I think Oscar can overtake Lando? Not at this moment in time, no. I don't think there's too much of a difference. 6 seconds to Lando Norris is a lot at this moment in time, even for Norris on Verstappen. What they are hoping for, in particular the McLarens, is that Verstappen's tyres start to fall off. He's forced into a bit more of an earlier pit stop than them, and they can go on the attack and close down on Max. But at the moment, Max's lap times have been pretty consistent. He just did a 22.928 to fastest last sector, but Norris did take out a few temps, 3 temps there on Verstappen. So we'll see if Norris is going to start to use a bit more of his medium compound tyre here, or whether or not Max's tyres and he starts to come back to Norris kind of naturally, with him starting to lose pace and grip in those tyres. But Max has controlled this race, as he so often does, from the front very well. He held off Lando Norris at the start unfairly, gave the position back to Norris after forcing him off of the racing track, and then he regained that position a couple of laps later, as I thought he would do, even if he lost the position at turn 1, because we know that Red Bull has a good package here this weekend, with a brand new engine in the back of that car, and in Max's hands, of course, with less downforce than the McLarens. Sainz has now decided to pit. He's in P13 as it currently stands. He's losing more positions here. He's going to lose a position to Antonelli. He's going to lose a position to Bortoletto and to Ollie Bearman, but he will be on much fresher tyres, and we'll see if Sainz in that Williams can get feisty here and make some overtakes and get up behind, potentially, Kimi Antonelli. What happened to Alonso? Suspension failure. He had a suspension failure, just went through the exit of Ascari, through turn 10, where Lewis Hamilton finds himself through now, and the suspension just broke. Lots of vibrations being put through the car on these curbs, and, well, clearly that was enough for the suspension, or right rear suspension of the Aston Martin of Alonso. So a shame for him, real unfortunate, as Lance Stroll currently finds himself in P8, but still yet to make a pit stop. So the current positions at the moment aren't full and final. Those down towards the bottom still have potentially positions to gain here. Liam Lawson, though, does look like that he is unable to hold on to any kind of real point scoring position, as he is now last of the runners on 21 lap old hards. So yes, for him, unfortunately, it does look like that gamble of starting on the soft compound tyres and pitting early and doing an undercut on the majority of the field hasn't worked out well for him as this race has progressed. With 22 laps remaining, how much of the suspension failure is to blame on the driver? He hit the car hard. I don't think he's got to blame at all, Hussam. He just drove it normally, like you expect any driver to do through there. It's just clearly had a failure, whether it was an old suspension part or whether they were running it too stiff and the vibrations have caused it to shatter. I don't know. But yes, one thing is for sure, that he is out of this race. Nico Hulkenberg as well, who didn't even get to start this race and had to retire the car at the end of the formation lap. But Charles, Oscar Piastri has just set the fastest middle sector out of anyone. Last time around, Verstappen, there you go. His tyres definitely aren't falling off at the moment, as maybe I suggested they would be, as it's a 22.890 last time around for Verstappen, compared to Norris's 22.7, although Piastri did just set in his personal best lap of this race, a 22.576 there for him. He is now just under 6 seconds from his teammate, as Lando Norris also gains a bit out of the traction zones through turn 2 there. Apologies for the lag here, really frustrating, but trying my best. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the stream. Over 18,000 of you in the stream right now. If you are enjoying it, please hit that like and subscribe button. It'd be much appreciated. We are at over 56,000 subscribers. Big thank you, guys. Trying to hit 60k. We hit 55 yesterday. We'll be back in a couple of weeks' time, of course, for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, which is my birthday weekend. So yes, what better way is there to spend your birthday than commentating on the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, which has provided us many chaotic races in the past, and hopefully it will be the same this year. But we do have a Ferrari pit stop on the way, as I am looking at my TV coverage, which is just ahead of my that's never usually the case, but my TV coverage is ahead of the data here. But Charles Leclerc, I believe, is coming into the pit lane first. I'm not yet to see exactly what tyre he will be going on to. Oscar just lost 4 temps. Oscar just lost 4 temps. Yeah, he did indeed, didn't he? In that middle sector, a 28.5 for Oscar Piastri there. So what happened to him there? Did he go down the escape road, or did he just have a bit of a moment where he hit the gravel? We have seen that before. But confirmation there of Charles Leclerc into the pits, pitting before Lewis Hamilton, as Lewis does a 23.0 there. We'll see how long Lewis Hamilton's going to go on here, or whether he'll pit the next lap, and they'll still give that advantage to Charles Leclerc, as normally the driver that's ahead gets that first choice of pitting. Charles Leclerc, what tyre is he going to come out on? Is it the soft compound tyre with 20 laps remaining, or is it the hard? No, it is the hard compound tyre for Charles Leclerc. So not quite suitable 20 laps to take that soft compound tyre. I think Verstappen, Norris, Piastri will be going onto that soft. I wonder if Lewis Hamilton will be going onto that soft compound tyre. I tell you what would screw Leclerc over now, guys. A safety car. That would be a terrible time right now for Charles Leclerc to get a safety car, as he would lose a position on his teammate. For sure, and he wouldn't be too happy about that. Alex Albon is now up into P5. Yes, with that hard compound tyre that he started on, he will no doubt quickly lose that position to Charles, as Charles is on 33 lap younger tyres on that hard there compared to Albon. They're still waiting probably for a safety car, because when they pit, they're going to lose a bit of time. Charles Leclerc, if we are not under threat, why did we stop now? Just to know. Uh-oh, we can discuss it later. Oh no. Have we got a Ferrari strategy here? Charles has said, why have we pitted now if we're not under threat? Oh dear. Charles may have sped in the pit lane, Taco. Oh dear. Imagine that. That's not going to be a happy bunny in Charles Leclerc, is it? We will see if that is going to be investigated. We will see if that pops up. If he has sped in the pit lane, it will pop up in the top right-hand corner of your screen in the race control section, but nothing at this moment in time. The Ferrari shirt is not a curse, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a curse. We proved this last week. I didn't wear it at Zandvoort, and look what happened. As Kimi Antonelli is making his way past Lance Stroll. Oh, no, that's George Russell, sorry. I got confused with the turquoise car there. It's George Russell making his way past Lance Stroll comfortably, and now finds himself up into P8 behind Esteban Ocon, who has that 5-second time penalty still to take for forcing another driver off of the track, and yet to still make his pit stop. But yes, Charles not happy with his team on the radio there, asking why did we pit if we weren't under threat? And all he was told in response was, we will talk about it later. Doesn't bode very well if they can't give him a proper response, does it? But we will see. Maybe they've seen something in the data that we aren't privy to. Max Verstappen, though, another fastest last sector for him, and a PB lap time for him as well, a 22.651. That gap has come down a little bit there, as there's a black and white flag for Pierre Gasly track limits as well, as he is down in P10, still yet to make a pit stop. So we still have a few drivers, Ocon, Albon, Stroll, Gasly on the hard compound tyre, started on the hard compound tyre, hoping for maybe something to happen. As Norris is asked, what are the faults on the soft tyre? Yeah, well, I guess the opposite of the car ahead is what Norris has asked. However, there isn't really much that is going to happen at the moment. I think that's also the strategy of Max Verstappen, as he is is comfortably managing that gap. That gap has come down by Lando to Max, as we have 18 laps remaining. But I think Max has definitely got this under control, unless some blue flag, some lap cars get in his way, or a safety car potentially. But Charles Leclerc, fastest lap for him, PB, a purple, a 22.170 for Charles Leclerc in that Ferrari on a fresh set of hards. He is trying to make a move on, chase down Alex Albon and his teammate Lewis, who is up into P4. Lewis made up 4 positions very quickly at the start of this race. He is technically still behind George Russell and Charles Leclerc net-wise, because he is still yet to make a pit stop. So George Russell is who is looking to launch past at the moment and see if he can overcut the Mercedes, who has made quick work of Esteban Ocon, who is on 35 lap old hard. So George Russell now back up into P7, looking to close down the gap to Charles Leclerc, but he has lost 4.6 seconds to Charles, and that's a good few seconds that he has lost there with that earlier pit stop and getting caught in traffic. So not particularly great there for the Mercedes team. Not entirely sure what they were thinking But as it currently stands with 17 laps remaining, it is Max Verstappen in P1. 5.3 seconds is the gap, so 22.638. So what you see is that Norris, once every other lap, does seem to close the gap on Max. Maybe a difference in battery deployment at the moment for the McLarens compared to that of Max Verstappen. And then the lap time levels out the next lap after. So every other lap, Lando chips away at the gap to Max. And, well, every other lap after that, yes, it is basically the same lap time. But Max, as it currently stands, has nothing to worry about with 5 seconds between him and Lando. Kaka, thank you for the 34 months, by the way. Much appreciated, as it currently stands. Over 20,000 viewers right now in this stream. Big thank you to everyone who keeps tuning back in. Apologies that we do have a little bit of lag on the track map at the moment, just due to we've tried to refresh numerous times. It's not an issue with my internet. It's something from F1's end, F1 TV's end. So apologies there, guys. Max just saving tyres. Exactly. Max saving tyres at the moment, managing from the front. As Max Verstappen does now come into the pit lane. Max Verstappen pits. So what is going to happen here? What are they going to do, McLaren? Are they going to extend? What tyres is Max Verstappen going to come out on? He's got 2 brand new sets of hards to use. He has no brand new sets of softs, only used sets of softs. So what is he going on to? Let's see what they do. The McLarens have already spoken about the soft compound tyre, and it's the hard compound tyre for Max Verstappen. So Norris is going to extend here, no doubt, and go on to the soft compound tyre. However, they need to time this well. There was a 5-second gap between Norris and Verstappen when he pitted. But the thing is that Max is still going to go pretty quick on this hard compound tyre, and they've only got 16 laps remaining. So they're running out of time to build a gap here or go onto the soft compound tyre and go on a charge. This is going to be interesting. Let's see what they decide to do. The hard compound tyre for Max Verstappen is probably the best decision. He had no brand new softs available to use, and the hard, he's had a 5-second lead over Lando Norris. He's come out ahead of Lewis Hamilton, and he is controlling this race. Ultimately, whatever happens here right now, Lando has to overtake Max Verstappen if he wants this race win. And, well, we know how hard Max is going to fight for that. Oscar Piastri is not in an opportunity to win this race today. But as it currently stands, with them still yet to make a pit stop, he would only be losing 3 points to Lando if he finishes in P3 and Lando finishes in P2. As Kimi Antonelli is all over the back of Pierre Gasly at the moment as he made his way into the second chicane, turn 4 and turn 5. But he's unable to get past the Alpine, who was on 37-lap-old hard, still yet to make a pit stop, Pierre Gasly. So they're hoping for a safety car, no doubt. As Lewis Hamilton now dives into the pit lane. So Lewis Hamilton a lap later than that of Max Verstappen. And, well, it is only those who have started on the hard compound tyres and the 2 McLarens who are yet to make a pit stop. The McLarens we know are very good on their tyres, and no doubt they'll be looking to push now. But Colapinto is not getting out of the way, is he? Colapinto is not getting out of the way. There hasn't been blue flags thrown for Colapinto yet, is my understanding. So at the moment, Colapinto is just racing. There are no blue flags for Colapinto. Whereas Lando Norris, is he going to dive into the pit lane here? No, he's still continuing to go on at this moment in time. There is a delay, unfortunately. Yeah, lots of streams are experiencing lag. So, yes, unfortunately, at the moment, there we go. Blue flag for Colapinto. Finally, as Lando Norris gets within that range of Colapinto, he'll have to move out of the way. But Max Verstappen, a purple lap for Max. And you can see there a 21.4. And he was 1.2 seconds quicker than Lando Norris last time around, who had to contend with the dirty air of Colapinto for a lot longer than he would like to, and he's on medium compound tyres. And you do suspect now, really, what is the strategy here for McLaren? Are they going to dip onto the soft compound tyres, or are they just going to go onto the hards now and accept that they aren't going to win this race? I think it's a very tall order for them to win this race now, or maybe, you never know, there might be a late safety car and they'll go onto the soft compound tyre regardless and be on much fresher rubber in that of Max Verstappen. But yes, still a way to go in this race. 14 laps remaining. It is currently Norris in P1 with Piastri in P2, still yet to make a pit stop. Oh, there's been an incident. There's a yellow flag. You're about to see it. Is it a yellow? We're about to see it occur. I don't want to spoil it for you all. as I've just had an emergency test alert in the UK. Great time for that to come through on my mobile. But you're about to witness an incident. I can't remember where it is from. I'm not sure if it will be a safety car. I think it's been removed very quickly. If we keep an eye on Ollie Bearman here and Carlos Sainz as they make their way down into turn 4. Don't want to spoil it for you all, guys. I'm trying not to pay attention too much to my TV coverage as Lewis Hamilton goes fastest in the first sector. But keep an eye on Sainz as he's just got ahead of Ollie Bearman down into turn 4. And I think there's about to be contact here between Sainz and Ollie Bearman. And yes, there is indeed contact between Carlos Sainz and Ollie Bearman. But they both get going again. A yellow in that sector. Not entirely sure who was at fault for that there. But yes, Carlos Sainz once again caught up in an incident, in a tangle. Through for the second race weekend in a row. Yes, the emergency alert just scared the hell out of me as well, guys. If you were in the UK, we just got that come through. I know a lot of you aren't from the UK, but we just had an emergency test alert. Don't worry, there isn't a nuclear war starting, thankfully. We will get to the end of this this race at Monza. So looking at the replay here as they went down into turn... Oh, it's Ollie Bearman's fault. Yeah, that's Ollie Bearman's fault. Ollie Bearman stayed in that corner where he didn't belong. So, although Sainz did turn into that corner too much. Yeah, I mean, I always get confused with the racing guidelines, guys. I'm sorry. I think Sainz is at fault for that because he turned in. But then I don't know if Ollie Bearman's supposed to back out of that. I have absolutely no clue with the racing guidelines anymore. That is how confusing F1 has got when it comes to F1. But one thing for sure, Sainz or Ollie Bearman will be penalised for that. I'm not entirely sure who. But there we go. Noted. Involving Sainz and Ollie Bearman, turn 5 incident. So we'll get an answer from the stewards. But yeah, I'll have a look at the racing guidelines afterwards to ascertain who was at fault for that. Sainz definitely had his wheels sufficiently alongside and had his front axle ahead of Ollie Bearman's. But then I'm not entirely sure if he's still supposed to leave room on the inside or if Ollie Bearman's supposed to back out. Who knows now these days? Who knows? But let's have an update again. 12 laps remaining. We still yet to see the McLaren's pit. 41 laps on the set of mediums is ridiculous, by the way. They're being caught at a rate of knots by Max Verstappen, who just did another purple lap, another fastest lap of the race, 21.358. As it currently stands, they would have to pit. They'll pit, and they will end up 14 seconds behind Max Verstappen. And they're not going to really make that time up, I believe, with a set of soft compound tyres. I think they're banking for a safety car, to be honest with you, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. But Piastri is catching Lando Norris at this moment in time. We just saw Alex Albon pit finally on a set of hard compound tyres. Where is he going to filter out into? He's going to come out just behind Kimi Antonelli. And Kimi Antonelli will have, as Albon's going to be on the mediums, and he's going to be very punchy at the end of this race here as he slots in just behind Antonelli and ahead of Gabriel Bortoletto. Pierre Gasly still yet to make a pit stop as well. Esteban Ocon and Lance Stroll yet to still make a pit stop. But this just shows, by the way, how comfortable the McLarens are on a set of tyres, by the way. They can take them absolutely forever as they're still not in the pit lane. As just a confirmation there of causing a collision, turn 5 incident, Ollie Bearman and Carlos Sainz. I'm still yet to actually hear a radio message from Carlos Sainz. So he's been a bit quiet on this one, whereas last time around he was a lot more vocal with Liam Lawson in Zandvoort. But we will see what happens as we will see when the McLarens are going to dive into the pit lane. Lewis Hamilton, fastest in the first sector there, a 26.794 from him. Poor Carlos last week, he also got nudged, I know. But this time around, I think he was... I don't know if he was in the right or not. He had his car positioned well, but he definitely turns into the corner like Ollie Bearman wasn't there. But I don't know if he's entitled to do that or not. Who knows? Who absolutely knows at the moment with the racing rules, guys? Is it mandatory for every car to do at least one pit stop? Not one pit stop, but to change onto a different set of compound tyres. You have to do, the only mandatory rules, but you have to use 2 different sets of compound tyres. And of course, normally in green flag conditions, or in green flag conditions, that means you have to make a pit stop, because that's the only way to do it. But you can also achieve that mandatory rule by the red flag, because you're able to change tyres under red flag conditions. Hence the boring Monaco race that we had a couple of years ago, where Charles Leclerc did win the race, where we saw Sergio Perez and Magnussen crash at the start of the race. And, well, that brought the red flag out very early on. They achieved that mandatory rule under red flag conditions, and they took the hard compound tyre for the whole race, and we saw no pit stops at all. Who thought Monaco couldn't get any more boring than that race? Before that race, you were proven most doubtedly wrong. But McLarens need to pit. Yes, they do need to pit. I'm still waiting to see when they're pitting. This is on a bit of a delay at the moment, this track map, and you can see they're still not pitted yet. Still not pitted at this moment in time. So, yeah, they're still got a long way to go at this moment in time. 10 laps remaining. I can't believe they still haven't decided to pit. Max Verstappen is in P3, setting fastest laps, closing that gap down to the McLarens. And I don't know what their strategy is here. I mean, to be honest, the McLaren strategy right now is just goal hanging for a safety car. I never thought I'd see it in this current this year. But yes, they are trying to goal hang for a safety car, and then they'll be on fresh tyres, because there's no other way for them to win this race. Norris is losing time to Piastri, who does seem to have much better tyres than that of his teammates at the moment. So, yeah, Norris needs to be a bit careful here, but he doesn't fall into the clutches of his own teammates and lose even more points in this championship battle. As it currently stands, yes, they are P1 and P2, but when they do make a pit stop, they have 32 seconds gap between themselves. They do have a 32-second advantage over Charles Leclerc at this moment in time, and it's a 24-second pit stop loss time here at Monza, so they have plenty of time. They can stay out there for as long as they want to and pit on the last 2 laps, which I think, as it's currently going, that is what their strategy is going to be. Their strategy is going to be just continuing on this tyre until the end of the race. Now, the tyres have lasted a very long time. Track limits, so they still haven't noted an incident yet. They still haven't said why Behrman and Sainz, or not why, but who is at fault for that Behrman and Sainz crash at this moment in time, or that collision. We are still waiting. What will happen if they don't pit? They would be disqualified. The McLarens will pit. They have to. Otherwise, they will be disqualified, as Albon and Antonelli switch places again down into turn 4 there. So swapping positions is Albon and Antonelli there. But yes, no, they have to pit. Otherwise, they would be disqualified. They have to adhere to that mandatory 2-tyre compound rule. But they are just waiting for a safety car. If there is a safety car, they will then be able to go onto a set of soft compound tyres. And, well, Max Verstappen, they force in basically Max Verstappen to either hold on to track position or relinquish it. That's basically what they're doing right now. If there's a safety car, Norris and Piastri would either be... they'll be on the soft compound tyre at the end, and Max Verstappen would regain the lead, but he'd be on the obviously, he'd be on a hard compound tyre. So if anyone remembers a certain infamous closing lap of 2021, we all know what the difference between a hard compound tyre, a used hard compound tyre, and a brand new soft tyre compound can do in relation to grip and pace. So yes, that is what they are banking on at the moment. It is, there's a 10, you're about to see it come through. There is a 10-second time penalty for Ollie Behrman. So they have deemed Ollie Behrman at fault for that crash. So we'll review the racing guidelines after this race, guys. Big thank you for everyone for tuning in, by the way. So Carlos Sainz was sufficiently ahead of Ollie Behrman. So by the letter of the racing rules or racing guidelines, he should have backed out of that. And Carlos Sainz was entitled to turn into that corner, and Behrman should have given up that corner. As so Antonelli and Albon is also noted for forcing another driver off the track. So you're about to see it come through very shortly. So that's a confirmation there that he... So, we have a pit stop. Piastri is pitting first. So I did just hear that, but Piastri was told he will be pitting first to cover off Charles Leclerc. And then Lando will be in the pit lane, although it's a very... you're about to see it. It's a slow pit stop for Lando. It's a very slow pit stop for Lando when we do see it come through. Interesting. Albon is cooking P7 now if 2 pits, yeah. Why don't we see overtakes nowadays? Well, we don't see overtakes now these days because these cars are too large, they're too heavy, and they give off too much dirty air. That old word, the word, but we don't ever really want to hear it too often again in F1. Dirty air. So it makes the cars very difficult to follow, which means they need a 7/10 to a second advantage in their tyres to be able to overtake. So that's why we see cars be able to lap 1.5 seconds quicker in clean air, but then as soon as they catch them, the old famous saying, catching is one thing, overtaking is another. Like Piastri in Hungary, they don't have enough of a tyre advantage to overtake, to overcome that deficit being thrown off by the car ahead. So as Piastri famously said in Baku, As there we go, confirmation of Ollie Bearman causing a collision. As he said famously in Baku, clean air is king. And yes, and truer word has never been spoken in this regulation set. So Max has been told no risk, full push at the moment. As yes, a false in Antonelli. So 10-second time penalty for Ollie Bearman there. A real shame for Ollie Bearman, but it is what it is. As Max Verstappen regains the lead of this race, as we see Lando Norris dive into the pit lane. Now, I think Lando. What happens here with Lando? Hang on. Lando Norris is coming out behind Oscar Piastri. He's had a slow pit stop. Lando has had a slow pit stop. He was held in the pits, and Oscar Piastri has been given P2 by McLaren, and well, cue the conspiracies. Lando Norris, through no fault of his own, for 2 weeks in a row, as... Oh, Oscar Piastri's fighting back. Oscar Piastri is being told to relinquish the position back to Lando and says on the radio, we were told that a slow pit stop is part of racing. And well, they have said, please relinquish the position and you are then free to go racing. We have we thought it would be, the drama would be at the front in relation to Max Verstappen. But it's happened due to McLaren's ineptitude once again, 2 seasons in a row. It was Hungary last year, and this time it's at Monza. And Oscar Piastri, unlike Lando, pushes back a bit more on the radio to his team. But you will see it very shortly. He does relinquish the position to his teammate. But wow, interesting circumstances here. In McLaren. Oh my goodness, a poor pit stop by McLaren gave Oscar Piastri the lead ahead of his teammates. That would extend his championship lead by 3 points as it currently stands, 18 to 15. It would extend it from 34 to 37, which could be all important with, of course, the races running out in the closing stages of this season. But yes, he has been told to relinquish that position. And well, I agree with Piastri. I do agree with him just as much as I agree with Lando Norris back in Hungary last year. Lando should have held on to the position back then. Piastri arguably should hold on to the position now. That is racing. However, they clearly want to... I mean, Piastri, I guess, at the end of the day has a significant buffer over his teammate, and he will only be losing 3 points to his teammate as it currently stands. They're yet to swap positions yet on this track map, but as I'm a good few laps behind, unfortunately, than my TV coverage. But yes, you will see them swap positions very shortly. I'm actually going to close my TV coverage because it's putting me off at the moment. But yes, that is what you're about to see, guys. So the engine BS ruined it. Unfortunately, Jimmy, yes, but that is also racing. The mechanical issues are outside of the driver's controls. Similarly, this was also outside of Lando Norris's control. The pit stop, it's not his fault. He has been much better than Piastri, just like Piastri was much better than Lando and merited that race win last year in Hungary. However, this time around, as just like they did last time, this time around, it's roles reversed for McLaren and Oscar Piastri. I think it's this lap you're about to see. He is going to relinquish his position. But for Max Verstappen, he does not care at all what is happening behind him, as he is led from start to finish. With only 5 laps remaining, Max Verstappen is your leader. He has an 18.5-second lead over the 2 McLarens, who are holding out for that safety car and were unable to do so, as it has been pretty much I thought we'd see more carnage, to be honest with you, but it seems everyone has cleaned up their acts at Zandvoort, as we have confirmation there, down into turn 1, Lando Norris back into P2 as Oscar Piastri. He did put up a bit of a fight. He did say, we discussed this, for the poor pit stop is part of racing, but they have, just like in Hungary, given the position back. However, unlike Lando Norris's engineer last year in Hungary, begging, praying on his knees to Lando to give the position back, Oscar Piastri, his engineer, doesn't have to do as much as Piastri does. Put up a fight, but gives it back to Norris. But I do think both of them, in both of these scenarios, last year and this year, they are correct. It's part of racing, and they should hold on to the position. But McLaren have a way that they want to go racing and win this championship with their 2 drivers. So Lando back into P2. That's not the end of it, though. Of course, there are 4 laps remaining after this one between Lando and Oscar to go at it here down into turn 1. Can Oscar stay close to Lando? Of course, we saw in Zandvoort how the dirty air, equal machinery on the same major tyre. Well, Oscar Piastri now actually has 2 lap older tyres. How really it is so difficult to overtake in those circumstances. And as I just mentioned as well, you need at least 7 tenths, 8 to a second advantage on those tyres over your competitors, let alone your own teammate who is in equal machinery. And you can see there, even out of the last corner, Oscar Piastri loses a bit of time under traction and is within DRS though. But how effective is that DRS in the slipstream of the equal machinery of his teammate? Well, not a lot. And you can see there, that is the nature of Monza, with a tailwind, with no headwind, with less air resistance, with the downforce, with the low downforce, with a skinnier rear wing and a DRS not being as effective. That DRS there and that slipstream was only worth a couple of tenths. So really, Oscar Piastri to overtake here needs a mistake from Lando Norris in the closing stages of this race, or he needs to be really close behind him and send it into one of these chicanes, or be less than 2 tenths, really 3 tenths behind him in the last corner. As Lance Stroll has done 50 laps on a set of hard compound tyres. Unbelievable. But here we go. Max Verstappen leading. It's Lando Norris in P2 with Oscar Piastri P3. They are chasing each other. They are fighting to the end here. The 2 championship rivals as it currently stands. Lando Norris would be gaining 18 points and Oscar Piastri 15. Only 3 points. That gap would come down from 34 to 31. Earlier on, it did look like when Lando was leading this race and Oscar was P4, that gap was going to come down to under 25 points. But no, that is not the case, as Lando does pump in a fastest middle sector there. 3 tenths over his teammate, and there we go. That is pretty much the advantage you get from clean air and having a couple of lap fresher tyres. Charles Leclerc is in P4. It looks like it's not going to be a podium from him unless there is something that occurs between the 2 McLaren drivers. Do not rule that out. George Russell is in P5 with Lewis Hamilton in P6. He gained 4 positions at the start of this race. Lewis Hamilton... Esteban Ocon is up 8 positions, but still yet to pit. He loves a ridiculous stint on a set of hard compound tyres. Esteban Ocon, he must be getting fed up of it this season in Haas. He still has a 5-second time penalty to take as well at that pit stop. Alex Albon is in P8 at the moment. He is up 6 positions on the medium compound tyre. Great drive from him, up 6 places. Kimi Antonelli is down 3 places in P9. Bortoletto is P10 with Hadjar up 8 positions in P11. Hadjar is chasing down Bortoletto. He's actually being closed down by Carlos Sainz, so it's more likely that he's going to lose a position to Sainz, then gain 1 on Bortoletto. Bortoletto is going to secure that last point scoring position, I believe. We have 2 laps remaining after this one. We are on lap 51 of 53. As we have Carlos Sainz in P12, Behrman in P13, Tsunoda is 14th, Lawson is 15th, Colapinto is 16th, Gasly is 17th at the moment, with Stroll in 18th, and we have had a suspension failure for Fernando Alonso and a retirement before the race even began for Nico Hülkenberg. But this Monza Grand Prix, we thought it would be a lot more interesting, to be perfectly honest with you, at the start of this race. But it's been a very clean one from everyone, other than one incident between Carlos Sainz and Ollie Behrman. We have seen a few overtakes, but we'd still always like to see more here at the Temple of Speed. But such is the nature of these cars. Hopefully 2026 provides us with more racing. But in the closing stages of this race, we're on the penultimate lap. It is Max Verstappen, 19 seconds ahead of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. And well, this does look like, while it is going to be 3 points gained by Lando Norris on Oscar Piastri on this penultimate lap here at the Italian Grand Prix, it is not going to be enough for him, really, in the grand scheme of things. It could be the all-important 3 points come the end of the season. However, there are going to be few opportunities between now and the end of the season where another car, like Max in that Red Bull, will be able to split those McLarens and better them and get into the win, or at least be able to put a position between him and Oscar Piastri. So a bit of a missed opportunity for Lando Norris today to try and capitalise. But did McLaren really have it in them to win this race this weekend? I'm not so sure. Max Verstappen, with that brand new power unit in the back of his car, with that low downforce package that Red Bull brought for the first time ever in this current regulation set, and in the hands of the Flying Dutchman. Yes, he has never looked back, as we've so often seen him do from the front. And, well, we did have to fight for it, actually, after relinquishing a position to Lando Norris, after being a bit naughty at the start of the race. But he didn't put up a fight. He knew he was in the wrong, and he gave it back and then got it back very quickly. But we are on the last lap of this race. Esteban Ocon has pitted now, finally, on the off the hard compound tyre. He's done a whole race on the same set of tyres. He hanged out for a safety car. As Isaac Hadjar, apologies, with Ocon pitting there, Isaac Hadjar has somehow, after starting from the pit lane, crept into the points. Wow, Isaac Hadjar, where has that come from? Brilliant from him. He's being chased down, though, by Carlos Sainz, as Carlos Sainz looks like he's going to fall short of the points once again. Of course, if it wasn't for a collision with Ollie Behrman, he would be in the points, so he's going to be really felt hard done by. As there's a 5-second time penalty for Kimi Antonelli for driving erratically. Where has that come from? Not entirely sure what that was for. Was it another... was it because he defended aggressively? I don't know. But as it currently stands, Max Verstappen only has one more sector here to contend with as he makes his way through the Ascari chicane. He has led for the majority of this race. As we mentioned, he didn't get one of his best starts for a while he was on pole position. He overly aggressively defended to Lando Norris and pushed him off the track. He relinquished that position, but then regained it, and he never looked back as he comes round the last corner, and Max Verstappen is your winner of the Italian Grand Prix, his third race win of the season. Lando Norris is holding off Oscar Piastri after a debacle, after a very poor pit stop by McLaren. It's Hungaroring all over again from 2024. But this time around, it was roles reversed. Oscar Piastri not too happy that he had to relinquish a position, as said it was part of racing. But there we go. He relinquished it anyway, and he finishes P3 with Lando Norris in P2. We'll have a look at the championship standings shortly. Charles Leclerc comes around and finishes P4. George Russell is in P5 with Hamilton in P6. He could only gain 4 places there. And, well, Alex Albon up 7 places into P7. The alternate strategy worked well for him. Confirmation there that Bortoletto moves up a position into P8 with Antonelli receiving a late 5-second time penalty. Isaac Hadjar once again has scored in the points. What looked like his worst qualifying of the year yesterday on a downer. He has a brand new power unit in the back of his car and he finishes in the points. Great drive from him and great strategy from RB. Carlos Sainz finishes 11th with Ollie Behrman in P12. Yuki Tsunoda down 4 places into P13. I think he got screwed by the strategy, to be honest with you. Not entirely sure what happened there. I'll have to review that. Liam Lawson started from the back of the grid. He was very, very bold strategy for the RB team to pit him very early on the soft compound tyres. The only driver to start on the softs. It didn't work out for him, but he gained 4 positions still up into P14. Ocon, with that 5-second time penalty, pitted on the last lap. He's getting fed up of doing these ridiculous stints on a set of hard compound tyres. Gasly and Colapinto towards the back there. Poor from them, and Stroll as well. Few drivers there looking to goal hang for a safety car that never came. Fernando Alonso, a retirement in race due to that suspension failure out of the Ascari chicane. And Nico Hulkenberg didn't even get to start this race. And there we go, guys. That is it for the Italian Grand Prix. You can breathe. I just want to say a big thank you, by the way, for all of the donations coming in. Big thank you. All the subscriptions. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Let's get this stream to 57,000 subs. Go on, you can do it. You can do it. But yes, I just want to say apologies there for bearing with the live data from F1 was ridiculous, by the way. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what occurred there. We tried to refresh a few times. We had a delay on there. I think we ended up finishing a good considerable time before the race actually finished. But big thank you to everyone who stayed with. Let's do a poll, shall we? Let's do a poll of who your driver of the day is, and then we'll have a look at the championship standings and permutations. What has happened? Oh, hang on. Why is that not doing? Ah, Jarvis, thank you for the gifted, by the way. Much appreciated. Why is that not doing it? Ah, tech issues. Driver of the day, I think. Let's have a look. I've got a funny feeling who I know it will be. Verstappen. Let's do Alex Albon. I'm going to do Isaac Hadjar as well, to be fair. I think there's only 3 of them that deserve it. Yeah, we could do Hamilton as well, probably. Another big gainer there. There we go. 2K likes. Yes, we had over 25,000 viewers, by the way, in this stream. Big thank you. Big thank you. I think that's a PB. So, yeah, big thank you, everyone. Right, let's have a look at the driver's standings, shall we? Here we are. Lando Norris gains 3 points over his championship rival, Oscar Piastri. The chase is back on, but it's not the amount of points that he would like to have gained, of course. Who would have foreseen that Max Verstappen, heading into this weekend, would be the dominant force that he has been for so often in recent years. When he has that car underneath him, he's definitely most undoubtedly going to fight for more world championships in the future, as we've seen so often, even still this season. A lot more rarer of occasion, though, than we have in the past few years, but still, he capitalises, he maximises, pun intended, he maximises when he has that car underneath him. George Russell, he has gained 25 points there, 232. Still over 100 points behind Oscar Piastri at the... No, sorry, he's just under 100 points now behind Oscar Piastri. 96 points to be exact. The charge is back on for Max Verstappen on Oscar Piastri. George Russell in P4, Leclerc P5, Hamilton 6th. No change there. Albon has now got ahead of Kimi Antonelli in the driver's standings, up into P7, 670 points to 66. Antonelli received a 5-second time penalty for driving erratically there at the end. Not entirely sure why that was. But yes, clearly a bad end to the race for him. Isaac Hadjar moves up another place. After a podium position last time around, he now moves up into P9 and overtaking Hulkenberg, who unfortunately had to retire from this race before it even began. Bortoletto moves up 2 places with 4 points at the bottom. And that is it. Franco Colapinto is still him and Jack Doohan. Their car is the only one still yet to score a single point this season on the grid, which is absolutely crazy. McLaren extend their lead at the top. Unbelievable points advantage they have at the top of the constructors. That's why they're allowing their drivers to fight for this championship. Ferrari gain 20 points there, 280. They now have a 20-point advantage over Mercedes now, as Mercedes only gained 12 points. Red Bull, 25 points for them solely from Max Verstappen. You could arguably say all of those points there are Max Verstappen's anyway. Williams stay P5. They've increased their lead over Aston Martin. 6 points there for Alex Albon, who's having a brilliant year. Kick Sauber gained 4 points. They closed the gap on Racing Bulls, who gained a solitary point through Isaac Hadjar. Poor weekend, really, for Haas and Alpine. And that is it for the championship standings at this moment in time. Driver of the day, unsurprisingly, is Max Verstappen. 65% of you. I thought we had not quite the overwhelming vote that we had last week with Isaac Hadjar getting the podium. That was the most overwhelming driver of the day vote we've had this season. But Albon, 8%, Hadjar, 9%, Hamilton, 18%. Yeah, he had a very good first half of the race. I bet Verstappen, yeah, very good. Very, very good drive. My pleasure, guys. My absolute pleasure for everyone tuning in. I just want to say a big thank you for everyone for bearing with. I know I hate lag as well. I think it sounds like, for those of you that have been viewing around, it was issues from F1 in itself. If I remember correctly, I had this same issue last year at Monza as well. I think Monza is just not a good... I don't know why. The data transmission is just not very good from Italy. Considering I'm in Europe anyway, I get better connection when it's in Australia than I do when it's in Europe. So, yeah, real shame there. But big thank you for everyone. 26k viewers, my peak. 25. I mean, it's very close, that race there. My previous peak was Monaco. I got over 25,000 viewers as well. I know, Monaco, but... everyone seems to tune into Monaco. As much as everyone seems to hate it, people can't stay away and they still just want to see what's happening. So, yeah, that was really surprising today, considering, and very frustrating at the same time, to be fair. But we had that lag, so it made things a bit difficult. Why does Red Bull even bother with a second car at this point? Yeah, I mean, look, the story is there, isn't it, in relation to what happened. We know what's happened on that side of the garage. It's a real shame for Yuki, isn't it? Because I know Liam Lawson didn't have the best race this weekend. I mean, to be fair, the RB wasn't great in general this weekend. But his fortunes have kind of turned around. Arguably, him getting out of that Red Bull seat after 2 races could have been the best thing for his career, because it does look like that he is going to be in that car next season. Hadjar looks like he's going to be promoted, and it looks like Yuki, who everyone was raving about and had a great start to the season in the RB car, and if he was still in the RB car right now, would probably be beating Hadjar, as good as Hadjar is, fighting in the points. Like, everyone would be talking about him for that Red Bull seat and stepping up, as there has been for some time, but even more so this year. He now looks like he's going to be out of seat for FF1 next year. So, you'd like to know what happened to Hulk? Let's have a check on what happened with Nico Hulkenberg, shall we? We don't just dip off here, guys. If you're new to this stream, we do chat, we stick around, and we talk about the race that has occurred. Let's see. Hulkenberg. I will get it from Chris Medland. He's a good source. He's a reliable source. Oh, he doesn't say anything about Nico Hulkenberg. I don't know what happened with Hulkenberg. I imagine it's a power unit issue. They just say it's a mechanical problem. They haven't actually identified it yet and told anyone. That's what I've seen. So we don't have an actual reason yet. So, oh, just got gifted. Oh, 10 gifted, Frazen. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Much appreciated, by the way. Much appreciated. I'm going to end the poll. It's an overwhelming Verstappen. It's an overwhelming 68% with 2,500 votes nearly. Big thank you there for everyone for the likes and the subscriptions and the gifted members as well. I called at the start of the race McLaren would have ran this entire race on mediums if they didn't have to pit. Absolutely crazy that a team could one stop with medium soft instead of medium hard. Yeah, so here's something else as well, guys. I did see someone comment, can they take... Will the Red Bull be quick for the rest of the season? No, probably not. There's a couple of reasons why they were here. And there's a pattern that you would have seen from the RB20. Is it the RB21 or whatever the car is this season? And Max said it yesterday as well. People were talking up, rightfully so, another lap record being broken. However, he played it down. And he went, if you put the W11 or the W12, whichever it was, on this track surface, which has been relayed, which makes it quicker, he goes, it probably would have broken the track record as well. He goes, so it's not all the fact that these cars have got so much better and that I've got so much better. It goes, it's just that, like, the track surface itself, there's a lot of conditions as to why the laps were quicker. And Max, if you look at this year where he has won races and where the Red Bull has performed well, Saudi, Suzuka, here, it's because primarily they've had no tyre issues. There's a new track surface that's been laid down. I think Shanghai as well. While we didn't fight for the win at Shanghai, he still had a very good second stint because he looked after the tyres in the first stint and then did very well in the second. When they don't have to worry about tyre deg, they have good races. Canada as well, for the most part. So that's where their weakness is, and if that's removed, then they perform much better. Now, Monza also is quite unique in the fact of that, as we mentioned, you can set the car up to wanting a bit more downforce to be quicker in the corners, or you can run that low downforce package. And we have seen Red Bull, their only real opportunity, or any team's opportunity to compete with the McLarens, is to trim downforce off of their package. That's why Max was able to get pole in Silverstone, but the wet weather hampered his opportunities there. So there are ways to ensure that you can beat the McLarens. They're not just all supreme car, but there's not really any circuits now, between now and the end of the season, where there won't be tyre management and you're going to be able to have that trade-off of a low downforce setup compared to their advantage in the corners, and get ahead of them in qualifying, because we know track position is key. And I think the only track they will potentially be able to do that is Baku. But then similar thing. There's always potential carnage there. It's a much longer circuit than what it is at Suzuka, at Monza as well. So there's a lot more corners where McLaren can increase their advantage. So I think that's really the only circuit where Max and the Red Bull will be able to properly go back at McLaren or take it to McLaren. But every time he's had an opportunity this year, he's pretty much capitalised on it, and he's beaten the McLarens, isn't he? So 8 laps delay is crazy. Is that what we had in the end? My lag was delayed by 8 laps. Yeah, I think I had 6 or 7. Gamer. It was crazy. I don't know if... Go back and have a look at your stream from last year. I'm going to do it as well. I'm pretty sure I experienced poor lag from Monza last year as well. I'm pretty sure. I think it's something to do with this circuit. As I said, get better signal. Get uninterrupted data when it's coming from Australia or from China. Should be renamed to Temple of Bad Internet Speed. I know. I mean, I have one. I'm very fortunate. Where I am, I've got 1 gigabyte of internet. So I get 1 gigabyte download, and I get not quite 1 gigabyte. I don't get 1 gigabyte upload, but I get way, way, way more than enough upload than you need to do these streams. And I know it's never my internet. So if we ever have any issues here, it's because of the data transmission. So McLaren's favouritism to Lando is obvious. Piastri is simply performing better, and they seem not to get to grips with that. I think if maybe... Yeah, so let's talk about the McLaren thing. I think if Lando hadn't have done that last year and swapped the positions back last year, I don't think they would have asked for... And they hadn't asked for it, for Lando to swap positions, and they just owned their mistake. I don't think they would have asked Oscar to switch the positions back there. But because you already have a precedent of Lando doing the same for him last season. I know they're in a championship battle now, but he still did that. And it was for the race win as well last season. And Lando technically was still within the Drivers' Championship. I get why they asked him to do it. Because it was literally the same scenario, except that it wasn't for a race win. If it was for the race win, maybe Piastri would have held on to the position. Maybe he would have done. Maybe he would have gone, nah, sod it. I'm going to hold on to the position. So I got 25k. Yeah, just over 25k. So can ping London in 100 ms from South Africa. Yeah. Was it to be expected? Oh, sorry. What did you say there? Was it to be expected? Oh, where's that gone? Was it to be expected that the track record at Monza would be broken this year? Yes. So whenever there's a new track surface, generally the track surface is quicker. Unless there's been like a lot of rain and the rubber gets washed away. But also we have seen these cars throughout this regulation set. Each year the cars have got around, on average, a second quicker. And look at the tracks they've broken track records at this year. Spa was absolutely smashed this year. I think there's only been a couple of tracks where the track record or the pole position of last year in particular wasn't beaten. That's primarily due to track conditions and wind conditions and so forth and like those things. But on just general pace alone and performance alone of these cars, they're the quickest ever in F1 history. They are. But what they do is that they don't necessarily provide great racing. That's the problem. 999 Gohan, why is it feel... Thank you for that, by the way. Why does it feel like Alonso getting screwed over with these mechanical issues and not Stroll? Well, I mean, Stroll might as well have had a mechanical issue because he finished 18th. Sometimes that's how it happens, Gohan. So it can be... It can... More so probably for Alonso's side of the garage than Stroll's, is that Stroll gets the newer parts on his side of the car earlier than Alonso. Shock horror. So what happens is that sometimes when one side of the garage gets more bad luck than the other, it's because they're on the older parts, they're on the more warm parts, that's done more mileage. And sometimes it can, so which means they're more susceptible to braking under load. And also you've got sometimes the setup choices. Sometimes Alonso might have wanted his setup and his suspension to be stiffer than that of Lance Stroll. So Stroll might not be running his car maybe necessarily on the edge so much, whereas Alonso is. And then there's that risk factor. There's that risk-reward factor of getting more performance out of the car, but then there's always that possibility of, yeah, your engine having more stress put on it, all more parts being put, more stress put on it. But it's the risk that's kind of worth taking because the reward is so much, is so high, really. So that's what I think. It's very odd to see that. We don't see that often in this modern era of F1 suspension failures like that, but you can see it because they're not quite serrated curbs, but you can see it. They're the brilliant straight on shot of Alonso as he went through of that failure, and you can see the vibrations going through that car, and clearly, yeah, it was just too much, and he'd been doing that for so many laps, and it was just too much. So the fact that McLaren pitted Piastri first clearly shows they are not favouring Lando. I need to check why they did that. I've got a suspicion, and I think I heard radio messages that Lando actually refused to pit first. I'm not sure. Could be wrong there. Matt, and the fact that McLaren pitted Piastri first clearly shows that they're not favouring Lando. Did I watch the race? Lando asked to pit later, and yeah, but there we go. Yes, exactly what I just thought. Sorry. Albon real deal, so consistent when not hampered by issues out of his control. Albon is having a brilliant year. I actually did a video at the start of this season where it's a make or break season for Alex Albon, because if Carlos Sainz comes in and wipes the floor of him, it's not career over for Albon, but it's definitely any opportunity that he ever wants, or any hope that he wants to get back into a top team, gone for him. And arguably, yes, some people might even say if he gets trounced by Sainz, he's not even worthy of being a midfield driver anymore, and they may look elsewhere at more youngsters. But he has come in and he has just wiped the floor of Sainz. Yes, Sainz has had some bad luck. Of course he has. But Sainz also, I don't think, has performed well enough but we all expect him to. And Albon has completely wiped the floor of him. So I think he is proving that some people rise up to the pressure and they accept that and they're like, yeah, bring it on. And some people just fall under the weight of it. And Albon has most definitely risen up to it. So let's rate this race out of 10. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a poll. We always do this. Rate the Italian. Oh, God, my spelling. Oh! It's all well and good having a wireless keyboard, but it's never... doesn't always work well. 9 to 10. So there... oh, hang on. Shit. Sorry. 9 to 10. There we go. Bush. Unpopular opinion, Frazen. What did you say? I can't see. If you didn't watch the live coverage, you have no room to talk in terms of favouritism because you didn't see the whole picture. Yeah, I do apologise, guys. I mean, look, with the issues of the lag and everything, it was very difficult to try and... I was getting very distracted by my... So how I have my setup here, just so you guys are aware, I have, of course, what I've got in front of me that you guys can all see, but off screen, I have... because I'm set in my living room, so I have my big TV with the TV coverage on, where that stream is about... that coverage is around 30 seconds behind what we see here. And then I have my mobile, where I have like the audio in my ear. And the audio is... and the mobile is normally around a minute and a half behind. Sometimes even 2 minutes behind in coverage. I was actually behind my mobile TV coverage today. That's how much of a delay that we had from the data being sent from Monza. So that's why it made it very difficult and very distracting. I had to turn my TV off and then I had to turn my mobile off because I was like, I'm seeing things before they're happening on here. And it's very disorientating. So, yeah. Lag issues made the race more exciting. Leaving Ace. Do I think F1 fans in this day and age are way too biased to some drivers and teams and then bash others out of pure hate for no reason? It gets annoying to see something. Yes. Yes, look, you can't deny it that over the last 10 years, the toxicity has got quite a lot online. And it's all well and good supporting drivers. That, like in here, I don't care who you support, ultimately. I don't care if you are biased for a driver. That's absolutely fine. But at the end of the day, I am a fan of racing. I think we're all a fan of racing. Yes, we want to see our drivers do well, but you've got to try and look at things objectively. I don't have issue with people having biases and wanting their driver or their team to do well, because that's sport. That's the same in cricket, tennis, football, whatever. You want your team to do well more so than others. However, to pile on and attack others and attack other drivers, I mean, look at Norris and Piastri right now. I mean, I haven't even looked at Twitter right now, but I can guarantee you there'll be conspiracy theories flying all over the place right now. And Norris and Piastri fans will right now about that situation that just happened. Favoritism for Lando because of it. Yeah, Lando gave up that position a year before. People can't, unfortunately, look at things objectively when it comes to F1. That's what we try and do here. We try and look at things objectively, logically, and people just get very emotional when it comes to their drivers. And unfortunately, their driver can do no wrong. But like, as an example, I am a fan of one driver, Lewis Hamilton. I get that asked a lot. I'm a fan of one driver. However, and as much as I want Lewis to do well, however, if he does something that is poor, is wrong in his decision making, or if he did something that was his fault or whatever, I'll call him out for it, as many of you long-time viewers know. And unfortunately, that's very few people have that approach online. Their driver can do no wrong. Simple as. Nobody's perfect at the end of the day. It'd be a boring world if everybody was perfect, wouldn't it? So, and the sport would be very boring. You rate my stream a 10 out of 10. Thank you. Newer fans support individual drivers, not teams. I agree with that, though. I think I support individual drivers more so than teams. I do. Has anyone taken the time to see what points would be if the point for fastest lap was still in place? Seeing Lando have fastest lap gave him the fault. No, Sid. No, I haven't looked at that. I never really was too keen on the fastest lap thing. Anyway, I think it was people utilised it in the wrong way, especially when you've got a team that did have or does have a second team on the grid and could take a fastest point lap away from their competitors. Piastri is lucky to be in McLaren now. Daniel Ricciardo suffered throughout the period when Red Bull was in the dumpster, left when they became good, moved to Renault and died in McLaren. Look, the majority of the F1 career is playing the career game correctly. So many drivers, so many good drivers have come through. We've spoken about it a lot on this channel, where they come through F2 and they find out there's no spot for them on the grid. And for whatever reason, because there's too many drivers that are yet retired or they don't have enough money behind them, but they should be on the grid. And then they don't get an opportunity to ever participate. And then you've also got drivers who time their moves correctly and they benefit from it. And you've got other drivers who time their moves very poorly. Look at this right now. Oscar Piastri could quite easily be still in that Alpine. Look where he'd be finishing right now. So that is an example of timing, playing the career game right and positioning yourself well. Like, the politics of it with F1 is so important behind the scenes. And that's what all these teams are doing. And that's what Max Verstappen's doing now as well, like with Mercedes. And that's why Mercedes aren't willing to still commit, unbelievably, to George Russell. Because they're like, well, there's an opportunity of having Max. And Max is like, yeah, that door's still ajar. And if Red Bull aren't performing well next season, he's going to go knock on the door of whichever team is at the start of this new regulation set and go, right, where's my contract? And any team will probably take him, other than maybe McLaren, who do really like their drivers. And, okay, yeah, Ferrari as well, because they've got Hamilton and Leclerc. But, you know, that's what's going to happen. That's what happens. So no driver is ever going to stick with a team just because, I mean, even Leclerc, maybe Leclerc will stick with Ferrari because that's his dream, but even then, it comes a point where he has to admit, am I ever going to win a Drivers' Championship? Do I want to win a Drivers' Championship? Is driving for Ferrari more important than winning a Drivers' Championship? Like, that's what he's going to have to judge. So You completely agree with me. Drivers like Teo Porcher and Felipe Drugovich should also be in F1. We have drivers like Lance Stroll still on the grid. But yeah, exactly. Look, we had the likes of Valtteri Bottas. I know they're coming back. But we had the likes of Bottas and, okay, people could say Sergio Perez as well. But we've had drivers who have... Kimi Raikkonen overstayed his welcome, to be honest with you. I liked Kimi Raikkonen. I was a fan of him. But there's no way that he should have still been driving like into his 40s. He should have retired a good 3-4 years prior to that. Or when he left Ferrari, he should have left. He took up a seat for 2 years unnecessarily. And unfortunately, in those 2 years, a couple of those F2 drivers or those other younger drivers had no seat available to them. And they had to go elsewhere. And they'll never get an opportunity in F1 again, unfortunately. Like the window of opportunity in F1 is so small. Like, you have to be coming... You either have to be, like, yeah, one of these generational talents who teams rate you very highly. Max, Kimi Antonelli. Like, I'm not saying, obviously, Kimi will be that, but that's how they rate him, and that's how he's seen. Same with, like, Arvid Lindblad as well. Even though, like, what he did today, it's arguably that he's going to be pushed up. They rate Arvid Lindblad so highly. They think that his ceiling is very high. He's like Max Verstappen-esque. He's going to be getting in. So it's all about coming through at the right time. Coming good at the right time to be given an opportunity, other than a handful of drivers, not even a handful of drivers who are picked up really young and are seen as generational talents. And no matter what they do, they'll be able to get into F1. So, considering there's only going to be 22 seats on the grid next year, I mean, it just makes it very tough, which is a real shame. So, Gustavo, if this delay is happening again, please turn off the TV and chat, because I'm here for your commentary and just hate all the spoiling ahead. It's like at Christmas. Yeah, no, it's lesson learnt today, Gustavo. It is a lesson that I've never had that today. In all the years that I've been doing these watch-alongs, I've never had a delay where I've been pushed behind the TV coverage. And it was a bit, yeah, I should have done it sooner, and it was a bit disorientating for myself. So yeah, next time I'm just gonna turn it off. So, but fingers crossed we don't ever get that again. Yeah. Which teams are going to be dominant in Baku? Tricky one, Baku, because there's a lot of corners at Baku. But you still need good top speed, because that's where the overtaking opportunity is. I think Max will be strong there again. He's still got the power unit in the car, a newer power unit, so I think he'll be strong again. We saw last year Ferrari were good there, but they won't be so much so this year, because you still need to be good on your tyres through there. It's kind of similar, to be honest. It's similar to kind of Monza, but it's a street circuit, so you can't run the car as low as you normally would like to because of the bumps, but it's more so thermal degradation than it is actually... degradation of the tyres, like wear. So I expect Max to still be strong. Will they be? I think McLaren will be the strongest though, and I think they could. I don't think they'll have yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky one. Street circuits are always a bit tricky. So, but I think Max will definitely be up there. He's still got they're not going to run as low a downforce package as what they did here. But yeah, I think he'll still be up there. But the more downforce that you add to your car, the more you're giving back towards McLaren. That's the thing in performance. Doesn't help when you get people like me talking about what's happening on the TV and not realizing your data is 3 laps behind. Yeah, it was just a bit tricky overall. But it's nice. It's nice to see. Obviously, I wasn't the only one as well to an extent. You enjoyed Raikkonen's Alfa Romeo years, really? Did you really? I mean, he gave us some sound bites, but that was about it. His performances were very lackluster. Do I think Alonso will get his 33rd before he retires? What? 33rd what? What, win? Oh, is it 33rd? Is he? Well, he's surely won more than 33 races, isn't he? He's only won 32 races. Leclerc destroyed Vettel, Sainz and Hamilton. Anyone who doesn't see him at least a 3-time champion is either delusional. Don't be baity, Dusko. He needs to get one first before he's seen as a 3-time world champion. Or potential of a 3-time world champion. You probably won't give an answer, but if you had to pick my favourite driver, whatever, I've always said Mika Hakkinen. So I grew up watching. He captivated me when I was younger, growing up watching the sport alongside my granddad. And his battles with Michael Schumacher were brilliant. He's my favourite ever driver. Albon's been brilliant the last few races. Yes, he most definitely has. So, wow, I'm really surprised. Maybe there's lots of Max Verstappen fans in this stream. I see it now. I see it now. You guys are giving this race a 9 out of 10. And I get that. If you're a fan, if your driver wins the race, I can see how that would be viewed a much better race than if he didn't win it. So I see that. Personally, for me, the race itself, I think it was a bit lackluster. We did see some moments, but not enough of them. And I think the strategy was boring. So for me, I'm giving that a 5 out of 10. I'm giving that a 5 out of 10. The McLaren moment spiced it up a bit. At the start of the race, the reason I'm giving it a 5 out of 10, I could maybe give it a 6 actually, because actually I forgot about the start. The start of the race was quite entertaining, to be fair. No, I'm bumping up to a 6 because I think the start of the race was entertaining with Max and Lando and swapping positions and Max regaining it. Same with Charles Leclerc and Piastri. But the majority of that race, I'd say 80% of that race was very lackluster. So, just my personal opinion. Don't come at me. It's got nothing to do with Max winning the race or anything like that. He did a tremendous drive. I think he is my driver of the day. Yes, you could give it to Albon as well, but I think mostly Verstappen, the way that he did manage that race and win it and capitalise again when he has the car underneath him, that was a top performance from him. But overall, I did say at the start, Monza can provide us a very interesting race. And it can also provide us a bore fest. It can provide us a chaotic race and a bore fest. And unfortunately, I'm not going to say it was a bore fest, but it was just a bit above that. It wasn't up to like the interesting and that stuff. You're still nap trapped. Is she's still sleeping on you, George? I'll help you soon. My pleasure, Sid. Are you going to use... Am I going to any F1 races this year, Naresh? No, I haven't got any plans. No. I've never been to an F1 race, guys. I know I've said this, so maybe that's my birthday present. Remember, Baku in a couple of weeks' time is my birthday. Are you all gonna chip in for a Friday ticket somewhere? The only problem is every track now is abroad, so we're going. The races we have remaining now are all the expensive ones. Abu Dhabi, Las Vegas, Qatar, yeah, Azerbaijan. Anthony's been struggling a lot in the European quarter of the Canada. Yeah, he has done. I thought he'd fare a lot more. I mean, look, he scored points today. It should have been a lot better for him. I didn't see the start of his race. I need to see what happened with the start of his race. He lost 4 positions at the start. I don't know if it was because of an error, poor start, get away from him. Maybe he got pinned. Not entirely sure. Do I think Max can close the gap to the top? No. Too little, too late, and that car is only, as we've touched on, that car is only going to be good enough at maybe Baku. Maybe Vegas might get away with a performance at Vegas. We don't really see a lot of tire deg at Vegas. You can run a lower downforce spec at Vegas, so maybe there as well. But I think really Baku and Vegas are the only 2 tracks between now and the end of the season where that Red Bull will be able to be competitive with the McLarens. But for the remainder of it, the other races, no. And he's already, 90... He's just like 96 points behind. So let me have a look here. Two secs. I'm trying to get the thing back on TV coverage, see what they're saying. You feel like the McLaren needs to discuss how this thing is going to go for the rest of the season, either no more swap positions if the team make a mistake, or keep swapping every time. Well, this is it. Apparently, Piastri did say, and I did hear this bit on the radio, we discussed that a slow pit stop is part of racing. Why are we swapping? Why do you want me to swap positions now? So supposedly, if what Piastri has said is true, I don't really think I have any other reason to not trust him. He doesn't seem like that sort of guy. Why? He has a valid point. He has a valid point. If those are the rules of engagement and those are the rules that they have set out, they have moved those goalposts in the moment, which isn't acceptable, really. I would be pretty pissed if I was Piastri. However, from the outside looking in, you can also see why it is fair, because Norris did the same thing for Piastri last year when it was also McLaren's cock-up. So, yeah. I mean, you can't discuss every single scenario that's going to occur, but I imagine that probably would have... I imagine that discussion has maybe come up again in the past, where it's like, look, if this is a serious problem with ourselves, like maybe like it's a buy. It's like, look, Lando's got one chance, like one slow pit stop where it's close like this. Yes, that's his one and only. The next time there's a slow pit stop, it is what it is. They're not going to swap positions. Maybe it's only because Norris did what he did last year. Now, if it happened in Baku, no, sorry, that's it. That's just racing. So, it'd be kind of hilarious if a slow pit stop ended up hurting Piastri later in the season, I imagine. Also, you said that Piastri could have been stuck at Alpine. Alpine had Alonso, Ocon, and Piastri, and they chose Ocon. What a pathetic team, honestly. Let's go watch a race, mate. Let's do it. I'd love to. I would love to. I will experience it one day. I will do. Are we going to see any upgrades last minute? I don't think so. Not now. Not now. I mean, look, it's too close to 2026, isn't it? So, but let's just bring the championship standings back over again, as you can see there. Oscar Piastri leading by, what is that, 31 points now, rather than 34. You live in India, so don't really get to watch F1. However, big fan. Parents allow me to watch one GP next year, which would be the most interesting. Which one should you watch? I think if you can make anyone, Silverstone. I think Silverstone is just so good. Like, I am biased. I'm British, but we have such good races there. The atmosphere is top tier as well. Yes, Monza, the atmosphere would have been great, but Silverstone, the atmosphere is brilliant there any time of the year. Or Red Bull Ring. I think Austria. I think the Red Bull Ring is a great track to go to because there are certain places on that circuit where you can see like the whole circuit, and you get the Dutch fans there as well for Max. There's always good racing at the Red Bull Ring. I think those two tracks, I think Silverstone or the Red Bull Ring, so the Austrian Grand Prix, I think those two are always brilliant races. I think it's because if they pitted Oscar first, if Lando pitted, had a slow stop, then Oscar got ahead, they would have let him keep it. Maybe, yeah. Can we do a poll on who will be the 25 and 26 champion? You can do, yeah. Let's end that race. So a lot of you think 28%. It's a lot there. See, this is the thing. It's the beauty about these polls. You can see there how many different people had a different viewpoints. The viewpoint of this race is so widespread, as you can see. 28% of you voted it a 9 out of 10. 25% of you gave it a 1 to 4. 24% of you gave it a 7 out of 8. And then 21% of you gave it a 5 out of 6. So many different viewpoints of that race. Hey, Mahi. Silverstone, Kota, Brazil, and Hungary seem to always have the best on-track action. Yes, you could go into Lagos as well. Circuit of the Americas, definitely. Yeah, Hungary. I agree with those, yeah. Why don't they rebuild all the tracks in a circle in one country? All the teams are based out of one country anyway, aren't they? So, but guys, I think that is it. To be honest, Dusko, I was going to run a poll, but I've been live for over 3 hours. That was a tough stream with the issues that we had with the lagging. And I'm not going to lie to you all. I don't feel like I have much else to add in that race. I don't think I have much to add. What you saw was what you got. A Carlos Sainz incident. That's the one thing I wanted to look at. Let's have a look before we go. So they deemed Ollie Behrman at fault. And the issue Carlos Sainz got a penalty for last time out is because he wasn't sufficiently ahead because he was overtaken on the outside. So let me check that. Where are those racing guidelines? Where are they? I know I downloaded them. because I'm sad like that. I downloaded the racing guidelines. Here we are. Why would that not go in there? There we go. Right, overtaking on the outside. Here we go. Right. Sorry. Can you guys see this? Right. Racing guideline standards. Racing standards guidelines. They're not regulations, they're guidelines. But this is what the stewards use to basically dish out penalties or not. And this is what the drivers have agreed to, which makes it kind of even worse, really, that the drivers have agreed to this, which is what Carlos Sainz kind of wants to discuss now. So what we're looking for is overtaking on the outside of a corner. So this one here. So overtaking on the outside will always be viewed as more difficult. To be entitled to given room, this is where I really hate the racing guidelines. When you are overtaking on the outside, you must have your front axle ahead of the front axle of the other car at the apex. So you must be fully ahead, pretty much, of the car that you're overtaking on the inside. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I think that's way too excessive. Way too excessive. Now, it must be driven in a controlled manner from entry to apex and to the exit. So Sainz did adhere to this. Be driven in a controlled manner. So when is the car... so race's dynamic process. Although these guidelines indicate specific relative positions of the cars at various points, stewards will always look at how the situation played out. Yep. So they will say, how did the cars get to the incident? Was the manoeuvre late or optimistic? Could the drivers reasonably see, know, or anticipate? Do we believe the manoeuvre could be completed on track? Did someone position handle their car in a way that contributed to the incident? Did the type of corner contribute to the incident? So, that's pretty much it. So, yes. So, really, basically, Ollie Bearman should have backed out of it. That's pretty much what they're saying, is that Carlos Sainz adhered to the overtaking on the outside rule sufficiently. Let's have a look at the FIA, and we can see if they've issued their steward's note on this yet. They haven't. Why? They've issued Esteban Ocon's infringement. They've issued Carlos Sainz's infringement, but they haven't issued Ollie Bearman's infringement. Oh, for goodness sake, honestly. Goodness sake. I can't abide the F1 ahead of the Apex rules. I totally agree, Dion, and it's not how racing should be. And that's what Carlos Sainz was talking about as well, is that he wants to raise the discussion again about how they go racing, because he thought, well, I was sufficiently alongside Liam Lawson into turn one. We discussed this, and he was like, I should have been left racing room, and he wasn't. But ultimately, Liam Lawson played those rules as they are, but the contact was made because he had a little moment. He had a bit of oversteer. And James Vowles said that. He goes, I don't think the penalty was fair. It should have been issued as a racing incident. But we also don't like the racing guidelines as they are. And I don't know why the drivers haven't made more of a fuss about this. They agreed to these racing rules. And unfortunately, this is why we don't see... that's why we very rarely see now these days battles go for multiple corners because of this rule. Because as long as you're ahead at the apex, you could just run the other car out wide. And if the car that's on the outside wants to avoid contact and damage, then that's what they have to do. But anywho, that is it for me, guys. I am done here today. A big thank you to everyone who tuned in. Please hit that like and subscribe button. How many subs are we on? I don't know how many subs we're on. Hang on. We're on 57,000. Oh, my goodness. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We only hit 55,000 yesterday. Whoa, that is a lot of subscribers we've had today. That is a lot of subscribers. Big thank you, everyone, by the way. Yes, have a lovely rest of your Sunday. I know I definitely am going to. Take stock of that. The championship has reduced. It has reduced. It's down to 31 points now. So 8 races remaining. 8 race weekends remaining. We head to Baku next time out. My birthday weekend. Just saying, you got 2 weeks to get the presents and a birthday card for me. We'll see you in a couple of... I'll see you before a couple of weeks, but because I'll be doing some F1 content in between then, some sim racing content as well. So yes, be sure to turn your notifications on for when I do go live. I am free. If I'm doing sim racing, whatever I'm doing, if I'm live and you want an F1 question answered, if you've seen something and you want my opinion on it, not that my opinion matters, but if you just want to talk to someone about F1 and you want my opinion on it, feel free to pop in. I'm always willing to talk about F1. So yes, tricky one today with, of course, the data being as laggy as it was, but we got through it and we hit, I think, a PB in viewership. So yes, big thank you as always. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday. Max Verstappen wins again. He does it when he has the car underneath him. And that's why, if he has the car underneath him next year, he most definitely will be fighting for a world championship. But it's between the two McLarens at the moment. Spiciness between them. I'm going to go listen to what they have said. I'll still do a debrief tomorrow, guys, so you can listen into that or listen to it after I go live tomorrow evening. I'll take stock of all the interviews and see what occurred. And, yeah, what we've got to look forward to in a couple of weeks' time at Azerbaijan. So it's always a pretty good carnage for us, isn't it, Azerbaijan? Or it's like this. Can be a bit of a boring affair. But yeah, anyway, have a lovely rest of your Sunday. See you then. Bye. That was very short. Bear with me.